A new series opens with a declaration meant for anyone starting their first life. A secret to becoming a winner. The rule is simple: live without compromising your beliefs. Polish your charm and never slack off. Never let anyone else decide your future. A young man smirks in the dark, fingers raised in a confident gesture. His goal, he says, is already set. Chaos fills a city intersection. A man has thrown himself in front of a car to save a woman, and bystanders scream for an ambulance. The girl denies knowing him at all, insisting she only cared about her own safety as a policeman moves through the wreckage. The man lies broken and battered, cursing himself for being stupid. He reflects that he spent his whole life acting like a good person, only to be discarded by the people around him. A splatter of white against black declares it plainly: what a shitty life he had. A girl jolts awake in a lavish bed, disoriented and screaming. She realizes what she just saw were memories from her previous life. The memories settle. He has been reborn as Ouga Vellet, eldest son of the villainous Vellet ducal family, in a new world of swords and magic, after dying while protecting a girlfriend who had betrayed him. At a banquet table piled with sweets, young Ouga recalls his old life clearly. He wonders if being a villain now is really so bad, but quickly realizes that being a good person was complete garbage. His resolve hardens with each step. Reborn as the son of a villainous noble for whatever reason, he refuses to repeat his old mistakes. No 15. Ouga strides through the manor in full noble attire, declaring his new ambitions aloud. He will gather beautiful girls to serve him, work his subordinates hard, and live entirely according to his own desires. He greets his father, Gordon Vellet, head of the Vellet family, who praises him for training and studying without missing a single day. Ouga notes silently how his father, a feudal lord, deliberately runs a poor administration and plays the fool in public while plotting behind the scenes against political rivals. He tells his father he intends to learn everything he can from him. Gordon is delighted by what he calls excellent villainous behavior and reveals that Ouga will soon enroll in the Lichberg Magic Academy to prove himself worthy of succession. Asked what he plans to do about his unique magic, Ouga answers that he won't reveal it to the public. It is a technique unlike anything else in this world. He is informed he'll be assigned an attendant to serve him in the dorms and that he gets to choose that person himself. He laughs, pleased with the arrangement. His father explains that choosing a subordinate wisely, even a purchased slave, is part of his training in judging talent. Ouga's heart races. This is the opportunity he has been waiting for to find a subordinate worthy of his goal of becoming the perfect villain. He grins, already plotting. Simply talented would be boring. He intends to deliberately seek out someone with a strong sense of justice and force her into doing evil deeds. He admits he already has someone in mind, someone he has been watching. Calling it the truest evil, he heads out, promising to be careful on the way. He arrives at the outskirts of the royal capital, Walshua City, where an underground arena roars with a bloodthirsty crowd screaming for a kill. In the underground arena, the girl stands drenched in bloodlust as two men close in with swords raised. She meets their taunts with cold defiance, vowing to cut them down for good this time. She moves without hesitation, cutting through her attackers with a technique she calls sword swing madness, ending one man's winning streak on the spot. As the second fighter screams and thrashes, she silences him coldly, telling him to keep quiet in his last moment. A voice calls her name, Chris, cutting through the violence just as her blade finishes its work. Back at what looks like a private chamber, she is told she has a guest and is led to see who has arrived. Ouga greets her warmly, brushing off the guard's surprise at his young age, and asks to speak with her alone. The attendants agree without question, promising no one will disturb the room while Ouga is inside. Ouga clarifies he isn't there to buy a woman, catching her off guard as he addresses her directly by her former title, the ex-commander of the Holy Knights, Chris Ragnica. She freezes, recognizing the crest on his short sword as belonging to the Vellet family, and realizes exactly who stands before her. Her shock turns to alarm once she registers that he is a noble, especially since the Vellet family oversees diplomacy and intelligence gathering across the kingdom. Ouga tells her plainly that nobles like himself were the ones responsible for framing her and driving her out of the Holy Knights. Chris recalls that moment vividly. She had been tracking a major human trafficking operation, driven purely by her sense of justice. She had gone before the king himself, pleading for judgment against the nobles behind it, only to be dismissed in front of the court. The nobles twisted the truth, presenting forged documents to paint her testimony as a lie and reducing her to nothing more than a commoner who happened to become a knight. Everything was stripped from her: her rank, her honor, her place among the Holy Knights. While the nobles buried the evidence she had risked everything to gather, she was forced into the arena, using the sword she had once honed for justice to survive in a pit built on cruelty, and she demands to know what a rotten noble could possibly want from her now. Augur only shakes his head, telling her he is disappointed, asking where her pride as a holy knight has gone. Startled, Chris stammers that she is no longer that person, no longer a knight at all. Her thoughts drift back further to a memory of admiring him even then, confessing she had liked him back when he still wore the holy knight's uniform. She remembers encouraging her fellow knights to stay undeterred by evil, filled with more conviction than anyone else in their ranks, until the memory breaks and she cries out for it to stop. Chris murmurs that she is scum, insisting she isn't the same person anymore, that she had to earn money using the same vile methods as everyone else in that arena. Augur only tells her plainly that the holy knight Chris Ragnica already died back there. He tells her that since she has already died once, she can simply restart from the beginning. He promises to make her shine again and asks her to join him. Tears fall as she grips his hand, overwhelmed. She vows to carve out a place where her justice can shine once more. She swears to wield her sword for his sake from now on, kneeling before him as he accepts her oath with a simple yes. Augur's expression shifts the moment she looks away, a sharp, satisfied grin breaking across his face. True, the 3 clauses displayed in his room, living without compromise, polishing his charm, and never letting anyone else decide his future. He privately celebrates. With the decision made, he suggests they head back so he can introduce her to his father. Alone with his thoughts, he congratulates himself on how perfectly he played the act. Before returning, he tells her she needs a new name since she is wanted as a criminal in public. Twisting the reading of his own name, he offers her the name Alice. Before leaving, she asks permission to visit the arena one last time, saying there is something she needs to prepare beforehand. He allows it, telling her she can take any good weapons she wants, assuming she simply intends to retrieve her old gear. But her intentions run deeper. She declares that the sword she'll wield from now on will serve his villainous goals instead of the justice she once believed in. Returning to him, she greets him warmly. Ready to take the first step alongside him toward his ambitions as Alice, his new sword, Augur turns to find the entire arena, all the fighters and handlers who once ran it, utterly destroyed. She casually confirms her preparations are complete, leaving him stunned at just how far she was willing to go. He reflects that in obtaining her, he gained the strongest pawn and took a real step toward his goals, but the path to becoming a proper villain proves steeper than expected from the very first move. Augur arrives at Royal Magic Academy, the finest school in the kingdom reserved for noble students. Standing before its gates, he tells himself this place will be the foundation for his true goal. He announces that he has taken in a powerful pawn named Alice, who will now live with him. Alice bows and vows to serve as his attendant. Students nearby recognize her as someone from the Vellet family and whisper that Augur has already become the center of attention. 2 students mock him behind his back, assuming he only got in through family connections, calling him the son of a villain lord and a failure. Alice draws her weapon and threatens the students, ready to make them pay. Augur tells her to stop, silently noting that his maid is a bit dangerous. Augur reflects that the Vellet family is infamous for villainous acts, so hearing insults about himself was expected. He declares his next goal now that he has Alice, building a harem surrounded by admiring girls. Before he can explain further, Alice hesitates, unsure how to react to the situation unfolding in front of them. A tall student with long hair recognizes Augur, saying it has been a while and asking if he remembers her, though she assumes he probably doesn't. After a moment of confusion over her identity, memory returns to him. She is revealed as Karen Levitsenka, his childhood friend and former fiancé, heir to one of the 4 great ducal families. Karen recalls treasuring a hair clip he once gave her. Augur introduces her to Alice, explaining they last met when they were 5 years old. Alice is stunned, insisting Augur is a perfect man and can't believe there was an engagement. Augur admits the engagement was called off due to a problem on his end. Augur reveals the truth. He has no magic aptitude at all, meaning he can't use magic. Alice protests that it isn't true, but Augur insists it is why the Levitsenka family rejected him, calling it a fatal flaw despite his noble status. Karen quietly reflects, recalling that Augur was always a certain kind of person. Augur notes to himself that seeing her again after so long cross-dressing must mean she has her own circumstances. Realizing they're running late for the entrance ceremony, the group hurries off. The ceremony begins, with new students welcomed and instructed to carry their luggage to their assigned rooms. Students continue gossiping about Augur's lack of magic despite being a noble. Alice defends him fiercely, growing threatening again as she demands to know who has been speaking ill of him. Augur stops her, saying he'll let them talk for now, confident they'll soon regard him with envy instead. Alice searches around a fountain for potential members to join Augur's harem. Augur has already chosen his next target, as students admire the academy's grandeur. A girl is mocked and taunted by others nearby, visibly frightened and pleading for them to stop. A group of nobles surrounds a girl, mocking her for being a mere commoner and demanding she stop looking at them. As she apologizes, one of them raises a hand to strike her, calling her scum and threatening to teach her manners. Augur interrupts and delivers a kick to the aggressor before he can land the blow, telling Alice that this girl is his target. He tells himself he needs to show her his cool side. Augur identifies the fallen noble as Luark Bombold, the second son of Count Bombold, noting how proud he seems of his status. Augur introduces himself as Ouga Vellet of the Vellet ducal family, then coldly dismisses Luark, telling him he is beneath him and should leave. Nearby students marvel at Augur's skill in taijutsu, while Luark, humiliated, swears he'll remember this. Helping the girl up, Augur admits to himself the real reason he wants her as his subordinate, her plump figure. The girl, flustered, thanks him repeatedly while he struggles to keep his composure and act like a gentleman. She introduces herself as Mashiro Lishe, a first-year student. Noticing dirt on her skirt, Augur offers her his handkerchief. She hesitates, wondering if someone like her is really allowed to accept something from him. She promises to wash it and return it at the new student's welcome party. Augur tells her not to worry about it. Once alone, Augur celebrates internally, certain her affection for him is already growing and that his plan is working perfectly. He reasons that since she is the only commoner in the academy, continuing to treat her kindly among nobles will make her fall for him eventually. Later that night, Alice is left overwhelmed with admiration, tearfully praising what a noble person he is. The story shifts to the welcome party at Lishburg Magic Academy's Grand Hall. Alice brings Augur a drink, and he notices something happening across the room. A dazzling young man is introduced as Crown Prince Arnia Rondism, the future king. Drawing everyone's attention, Alice is shocked to learn the prince is also Karen's current fiancé. Students gossip that Augur's engagement to her was called off, whispering that it couldn't be helped since he lacks magic aptitude. Alice senses killing intent building within herself, but the prince simply asks Augur if he has any business with him. Karen quickly steps in, clarifying she is with Augur. The prince greets Augur, mentioning he has heard he is the unqualified student with no magic aptitude. Alice tenses, ready to step forward, but Augur calmly introduces himself, honored that his name has reached the prince. The prince remarks that of course it has, given how popular Augur has become. Karen suddenly reacts with surprise upon spotting the prince nearby. Watching from a distance, Alice realizes this must be why Karen was set aside for Augur. Now understanding the prince is her actual fiancé. The prince tells Augur he can't wait to see what embarrassing thing he'll do next, while Augur silently prepares himself for what is coming. The prince calls Karen over. Augur reflects quietly that it must have been frustrating for her, reassuring her that it is okay. Understanding that her status leaves her no choice but to apologize and comply. Karen walks past him, quietly saying she knows exactly what he is really feeling right now, though Augur simply keeps his back turned. Startled, he watches her hurry off, left speechless by her words. Karen adds that others might look down on him for lacking magic aptitude, but none of that changes who he is, calling him a truly amazing person. Augur finds the moment strangely interesting, admitting to himself that hearing it makes him happy. Alone again, he tells himself the whole academy has one big misunderstanding about him. Just then, Alice approaches with a letter addressed to him from someone else, asking if he is really Vellet-sama, and he begins to wonder if he is growing tired from all the confusion. The letter is from Mashiro Lishe, thanking him for saving her and asking him to meet her behind the school before first period the next morning. Convinced it can only mean one thing, Augur erupts with excitement, certain he has received his very first love letter. Flustered, Lishe appreciated Augur genuinely, endeavoring describing enigmatic emotions growing after earlier saving event. Lishe abruptly advanced to closely nearby Augur, almost embracing him as showing defenseless fondness peacefully. Augur straightaway woke flustered, recognizing intense meeting came thoroughly from impossible affectionate visions beforehand. Augur assuredly misinterpreted Lishe's request, presuming dominating respect formerly remained among them effortlessly thoroughly. Augur smugly readied outfits, picturing Lishe's fondness growing quickly everywhere future school events regularly. Augur reached gathering place peacefully as anxious Lishe stood wordlessly nearby school courtyard. Lishe appreciated Augur genuinely once, more endeavoring restraining discomfort as remembering earlier hazardous meetings sentimentally. Augur mistakenly anticipated affectionate admission straight away as Lishe uneasily described unclear private situations clumsily rather. Weeping frantically, Lishe pleaded Augur shunning participation thoroughly, stunning him via surprising sensitive eruption. Liche gave back cloth uneasily, misunderstanding generosity as Augur understood grave uncertainty remained among them. Augur looked puzzled wordlessly as Liche abruptly fled sentimentally, leaving discussion. He wondered about unclear occurrences attentively as watching Liche racing wildly via school grounds. Abruptly, Luark advanced to terrified Liche nearby schoolmates as Augur misinterpreted their association thoroughly from afar. Enraged, Liche challenged Augur's beliefs forcefully, confessing favoring poor boy over courteous men. Rather, Augur misinterpreted whole altercation smugly, presuming Liche held defiant, affectionate desires towards rogues effortlessly thoroughly. Weeping, Liche said, sorry as distancing personally sentimentally from puzzled Augur nearby school canteen walkways. Augur thought solemnly about misunderstanding, as Alice wondered about strange demeanor encircling sensitive Liche attentively. Alice examined Liche's peculiar thanks, doubting secret reasons beneath intense sensitive responses thoroughly rather. She reasonably decided Liche's demeanor opposed situations, concerning schoolmates beforehand driven off forcefully earlier entirely. Augur resolved watching peacefully persisted better, dismissing Alice's doubts concerning Liche's strange sensitive demeanor. Alice examined Liche energetically as Augur covertly witnessed questionable actions everywhere. School campus, vicious learners assembled covertly within deserted school structure, ridiculing Augur's earlier humiliating misunderstandings. Luark ridiculed Augur's wisdom smugly as schoolmates praised effective deception concerning defenseless sensitive conditions. Threatened uneasily, Liche admitted schoolmates forced misleading deeds beforehand, opposing Augur unwillingly amid confrontations. Luark cruelly exposed objectives maliciously, desiring sensitive suffering inflicted straight about Augur directly via deception. Luark ordered terrified Liche, insisting repeated deception, seeking sentimentally defenseless Augur once. More vicious aristocrats planned defeating Augur magically as terrified Liche frantically resisted hazardous schemes. Liche recalled warnings compelling shame towards Augur, dreading gossip concerning absent mystical capabilities circulating. Liche suffered continual discrimination sadly as regretting participation guarding Augur from malicious aristocratic schoolmates. Continually recalling Augur's generosity, Liche understood thoroughly different values remained underneath aristocratic school traditions. Liche bravely refused aristocratic warnings, guaranteeing fiercely guarding Augur though earlier agonizing deception. Enraged, Luark assaulted Liche brutally, enraged by defiance opposing humiliating schemes seeking Augur. Terrified, Liche endured vicious harassment helplessly as Luark ruined clothing maliciously amid confrontations within library. Luark threatened humiliating Liche more, enjoying sensitive suffering inflicted about defenseless commoner learners continually. Augur abruptly intervened forcefully, destroying area brutally as stunning aristocrats via dominating bodily prowess. Augur protected weeping Liche assuredly, guaranteeing nobody would harm her as standing courageously. He mocked aristocratic warnings casually, uncovering sensitive deception never affected his private emotions solemnly. Stunned aristocrats understood Augur intentionally lowered guards beforehand, comprehending deception failed opposing him entirely. Solo later, Augur sighed heavily. Recognizing schoolmates misinterpreted his confident performance encircling altercation beforehand. Alice interrupted Augur's reflections urgently, bearing enigmatic camera as announcing troubling information surprisingly. Augur learned of Liche's genuine emotions thoroughly, recognizing schoolmates beforehand forced vicious misleading statements. Alice urgently described Liche persisted endangered, convincing Augur straightaway begin hazardous saving operations collectively. Augur laughed assuredly as denying misunderstanding accusations, frightening aristocrats via dominating fearless determination. Desperate Luark readied mystical assaults uneasily, presuming superior spells guaranteed triumph opposing Augur. Enormous firepower exploded brutally towards Augur as terrified Liche looked unfolding destruction helplessly. Luark launched destructive fire magic assuredly, presuming Augur eventually confronted unavoidable defeat thoroughly. Augur survived mystical explosion effortlessly, peacefully ridiculing Luark's disappointing capabilities earlier terrified schoolmates. Puzzled schoolmates suspected secret mystical talents as Augur casually ignored hazardous assaults encircling him. Augur admitted lacking magic honestly as Luark frantically proceeded launching dominating fire assaults continuously erased incoming magic promptly. Augur stunning aristocrats via impossible powers though absent mystical aptitude. Augur cornered beaten Luark assuredly, preparing immediate retaliation opposing vicious deception schemes. Terrified Luark screamed frantically as Augur advanced, too threateningly nearby, terrified watching schoolmates wordlessly. Augur-beaten Luark effortlessly physically astonishing Li Shay as mystical assaults vanished surprisingly amid fight. Augur described anti-magic method peacefully as examining wounded Li Shay's state attentively nearby ruined area. Guilty Li Shay said sorry tearfully towards Augur, regretting earlier insults though receiving compassionate protection. Blushing Li Shay promised punishing Augur sentimentally as hiding dominating thanks underneath flustered expressions. Augur consoled weeping Li Shay softly, requesting silence concerning enigmatic anti-magic methods guarding schoolmates. Overcome sentimentally, Li Shay embraced Augur abruptly as accepting strange penalty energetically though discomfort thoroughly. Li Shay accidentally pressed her breast opposing Augur closely, astonishing him via surprising bodily intimacy. Augur praised private progress smugly, presuming Li Shay formally joined his imaginary affectionate harem successfully. Augur, Alice, and Li Shay praised triumph smugly as enigmatic upperclassmen witnessed their association via school windows. Elegant scholar predicting exciting disturbances would transform school life dramatically everywhere future semesters. Expelled delinquents left disgracefully as Augur ignored repercussions, presuming penalty matched their shameful demeanor. Augur practiced vigorously doing inversions bearing weighty loads as Alice witnessed his commitment. Alice respected Augur's impressive prowess energetically, reconsidering beliefs concerning frail aristocratic learners thoroughly throughout. Augur connected mystical weakness with reincarnation, deciding bodily practice needed greater private commitment straight away. Li Shay welcomed Augur brightly amid daybreak discussions, slowly leaving proper attendant demeanor thoroughly effortlessly. Augur encouraged casual discussions gladly, presuming childhood friendships eventually develop possible via the cooperation. He completed practice, exercises shirtless, informing curious Li Shay concerning significant meetings requiring immediate attendance. Alice and Li Shay looked Augur depart towards towering faculty command center, maintaining respect wordlessly collectively. Augur uneasily advanced to enigmatic office chambers, calming personally attentively earlier entering unfamiliar area thoroughly. A refined noblewoman welcomed Vellet politely within elaborate chambers, preparing discussions amid daybreak meetings. Augur courteously welcomed former headmaster Floan Milfanti, acknowledging fabled feats beneath her praised heroic distinction. He noticing her extraordinary mystical presence persisted thoroughly unchanged though retirement seasons. Floan appreciated puzzled Augur genuinely, reducing strain as building assurance amid their personal discussion courteously. She exposed significant concerns concerning Li Shay, straightaway capturing Augur's absolute concentration towards unfolding situations thereafter. Floan described Li Shay held uncommon double mystical traits, rendering her remarkably precious everywhere community. Floan commended Augur genuinely, presuming his deeds protected Li Shay from hazardous situations, endangering her well-being. Augur smugly misinterpreted compliments thoroughly, secretly valuing Li Shay exclusively since her breasts impressed him. Floan expressed thanks warmly, relieved Li Shay's exceptional mystical talents persisted unharmed after earlier hazardous incidents. Augur wondered about growing situations inwardly, noticing relationships surprisingly progressing though selfish private reasons increasingly. Alarmed sentimentally, Augur frustrated everybody respected him as his villainous aspirations continuously failed miserably. Floan thought solemnly about Augur's interference, presuming his surprising deeds disrupted significant secret objectives. Unknown enemies resented Augur, enraged, since Li Shay fled hazardous experimental schemes concerning deception. Floan examined his rising influence, learning associates encircling him held terrifying, extraordinary talents. She wondered about Augur's enigmatic objectives inwardly, doubting impossible mystical capabilities described amid alarming reports recently. Ready decisive deeds, Floan refusing obstacles endangering aspirations pursued relentlessly everywhere numerous earlier seasons. Reina Milfanti stepped into classrooms assuredly, volunteering directly to observe Augur's questionable undertakings. Augur discussed Li Shay thoughtfully as Floan considered hazardous implications encircling uncommon double mystical capabilities throughout. Li Shay spotted Augur's strange silence uneasily, questioning reflections secret beneath his calm classroom countenance. Augur abruptly deserted lessons animatedly, dragging stunned Li Shay off as schoolmates looked uncertainty spread throughout. Augur ordered Alice waiting beneath, planning experiments concerning Li Shay beyond normal school supervision. Ancient school towers remained wordlessly, encircling restricted facilities dedicated towards hazardous mystical practice exercises. Augur guided curious Li Shay towards training tower, requesting demonstrations concerning her strange double mystical capabilities. Excited Li Shay agreed, too energetically, hoping impressive performances would convince Augur concerning her mystical prowess. Li Shay struggled opening training tower entrances continually as Augur witnessed peacefully nearby collapsing stairways. An approaching woman interrupted abruptly, stunning Li Shay as Augur recognized surprising trouble approaching. Reina Milfanti presented personally as Scholar Committee leader, astonishing Augur and Li Shay. Augur recognized Reina promptly, recalling stories describing Flone's talented disciple everywhere esteemed mystical communities throughout. He studied Reina, growing distracted following noticing differences among photographs and reality accidentally. Reina teased flustered Augur teasingly, enjoying responses triggered from his obvious staring demeanor immensely. She pressed Augur's cheeks mischievously as puzzled Li Shay witnessed their peculiar interaction wordlessly beneath. Reina touched Augur's face softly, building friendlier expressions as Li Shay looked clumsily. Augur fabricated excuses assuredly, saying independent mystical training motivated leaving regular school lectures thoroughly. Reina offered specialized practical lessons abruptly, stunning each Augur and Li Shay nearby restricted entrances straight away. Augur developed excited inwardly, presuming Reina's expertise could reinforcement hazardous mystical research concerning deletion powers. Reina exposed terms, grinning peacefully, insisting Augur enter esteemed Scholar Committee group. Alice wondered about Scholar Committee recruitment uneasily as Augur considered Reina's questionable proposal wordlessly nearby Li Shay. Augur examined situations, doubting Reina contacted him intentionally via Flone's secret political influence beforehand. Augur misinterpreted Reina thoroughly, presuming friendly demeanor hid manipulative schemes restraining his coming aspirations. He refused Reina assuredly, refusing subordinate positions as guarding independence from outdoors authority figures thoroughly. Reina responded peacefully towards rejection, appearing increasingly interested concerning Augur's defiant personality and demeanor. Reina confronted Augur peacefully, studying his responses as a voice called Augur continually. Alice rushed towards Augur furiously, recognizing abruptly he deserted her amid enigmatic investigations. Augur said, sorry clumsily nearby, puzzled Reina as Alice accidentally distracted everybody encircling watching schoolmates. Reina left peacefully, guaranteeing unwavering reinforcement when Augur reconsidered earlier choices concerning cooperation arrangements. She wondered about failed seduction attempts secretly, doubting private charms influence Augur's peculiar demeanor significantly. Reina compared personally bitterly opposing women encircling Augur, questioning private attractiveness covertly as watching. Agreed to brief defeat, Reina guaranteeing personally coming opportunities capturing Augur's absolute concentration eventually. Alice wondered about Augur curiously concerning interrupted experiments, as he considered Reina's suspiciously cooperative demeanor. Augur described objectives concerning Li Shay's capabilities as Alice energetically suggested practical experimental alternatives straight away. Alice proposed visiting hazardous orphanage territories, presuming situations perfectly matched testing Li Shay's mystical capabilities. Thoroughly, Augur approved orphanage supporting, aid energetically, picturing loyal coming workers benefiting private aspirations. Alice and Li Shay agreed to Augur's proposal gladly, preparing themselves eagerly for hazardous future investigations collectively. The group left countryside routes noisily, as drained Li Shay struggled enduring uncomfortable transportation terms. Augur wondered about destination details solemnly as Alice guided Li Shay attentively via unfamiliar accommodations. Alice described peaceful event-bordered hazardous territories, straightaway reminding Augur concerning earlier stadium incidents nearby. Augur examined troubled Walshua, doubting stadium disputes damaged neighboring events' peaceful environment. Augur spotted questionable silence abruptly. Earlier terrified screams erupted throughout packed city streets, surprisingly nearby. Bandits threatened terrified none mercilessly until Augur straightaway rushed ahead nearby alarmed associates guarding civilians. The nun looked uneasily as Augur launched aggressive assaults straight towards approaching outlaws lacking hesitation. Augur beaten encircling bandits brutally, stunning nearby outlaws via dominating bodily battle capabilities. Augur beaten outlaws planning interrogations peacefully as staying thoroughly confident amid hazardous confrontations. Alice interrupted abruptly, aloud uncovering Augur's aristocratic persona earlier puzzled outlaws encircling terrified civilians. Excited civilians commended Augur dramatically, misunderstanding brutal deeds as righteous heroism guarding innocent others faithfully. Flustered Augur suffered excessive respect wordlessly as crowds continually shouted his respected aristocratic title, energetically. The rescued nun and outlaws responded uneasily, presuming Augur's semblance signaled terrifying repercussions approaching. The rescued nun respected Augur sentimentally, growing overcome witnessing his fearless deeds opposing hazardous outlaws. Augur recognized Alice's acquaintance briefly earlier returning concentration towards attacking outlaws encircling terrified civilians. Augur said, sorry mockingly, effortlessly disarming competitors via dominating speed and precise actions. He lectured beaten outlaws coldly, insisting private reflection concerning selfish deeds harming innocent citizens continually. Staying bandits assaulted frantically collectively, yet Augur proceeded dominating battles, lacking receiving injuries whatsoever. Augur beaten staying outlaws acrobatically as Alice witnessed battles unfolding nearby terrified civilians. Alice restrained captured bandits efficiently, after Augur's commands assuredly amid chaotic confrontations lacking hesitation thoroughly. The rescued nun appreciated Augur and Alice genuinely following hazardous outlaws eventually developed thoroughly subdued. The nun exposed her name, Mio, welcomed everybody warmly within cathedral shelters, apologizing humbly. Mio commended Augur's generosity energetically, triggering discomfort as Alice exaggerated his compassionate aristocratic distinction more. Orphanage youngsters welcomed Alice animatedly, encircling visitors energetically as shy Chris witnessed everybody cautiously. Inspected youngsters, Augur planning authority demonstrations as counting potential coming workers energetically within orphanage. Augur presented personally arrogantly, expecting terrified obedience following announcing esteemed aristocratic household connections smugly throughout. The youngsters mocked Augur's semblance straight away, thoroughly misunderstanding his intimidating introduction and aristocratic distinction. Augur understood anxious aristocrats terrified youngsters effortlessly, triggering uncertainty concerning proper intimidation methods. Augur controlled frustration, sending youngsters outdoors as preparing grave interrogations within orphanage rooms. Captured outlaws persisted restrained wordlessly as Augur demanded explanations concerning repeated orphanage assaults straight. Alice threatened captured bandits forcefully until terrified outlaws exposed Aliban ordered hazardous operations. The outlaws pleaded frantically for freedom as Alice suppressed anger nearby, puzzled watching associates wordlessly nearby. Alice demanded Aliban's place coldly, stunning Augur as terrified outlaws surrendered information straight away. Mio appreciated everybody gratefully as preparing rewards for Augur's effective orphanage protection efforts. She offered scarce funds apologetically, but Augur declined payment lacking hesitation, though desperate pleading. Augur refused extra funds firmly, dismissing Mio's sensitive attempts gathering larger monetary rewards thoroughly. Mio lamented offending Augur accidentally, presuming meager gifts dishonored esteemed Vellet household standing. Youngsters interrupted awkward tensions teasingly, pretending heroic battles as Mio said, sorry towards flustered Augur. Excited youngsters tackled Augur teasingly, encircling him energetically as Mio looked sensitive responses wordlessly. Augur encouraged children's fondness smugly, presuming successfully earned respect via impressive aristocratic charisma solo. He wondered about orphanage finances solemnly, recognizing Mio's reward funds barely supported children's meals adequately. Augur counseled Mio kindly, proposing preparing supper helped youngsters better than needless monetary payment. Alice consoled sensitive Mio softly, noticing youngsters eventually enjoying peaceful happiness within orphanage once more. Alice exposed significant information concerning Aliban as Augur heard attentively outdoors quiet cathedral buildings. She described Aliban survived Walshua's stadium destruction, straightaway stunning Augur via surprising revelations thoroughly. Alice suspected Aliban targeted Invent intentionally, planning hazardous underground arenas secret from regal authorities. Alice blamed personally uneasily, worrying innocent civilians endured since earlier stadium incidents persisted unresolved. Augur refused vicious realities inwardly, recognizing his desired villainy differed thoroughly from genuine suffering tremendously. Augur announced ambitious schemes, assuredly preparing immediate retaliation, opposing Aliban with enthusiastic loyal Alice tomorrow. Rested peacefully overnight? Augur hoping drained Lishay recovered sufficiently earlier hazardous confrontations started tomorrow daybreak. Later Mio advanced to Augur's bedroom uneasily, interrupting peaceful silence as requesting personal discussions straight away. Mio rested on Augur's body surprisingly, requesting fondness underneath moonlight shining via cathedral windows. Augur woke thoroughly stunned, endeavoring comprehending Mio's abrupt affectionate advances towards him sentimentally thereafter. Augur woke flustered, questioning her objectives as uncertainty spread throughout silent chambers. Mio uneasily asked for affectionate guidance from Augur, confessing ignorance concerning genuine fondness and relationships. She tearfully exposed agonizing abandonment events, dreading inadequate compassion would eventually harm orphan youngsters. Desperate Mio advanced to closer sentimentally, begging Augur kindly teaching concerning meaningful love lacking judgment. Augur ceased Mio softly, describing insecurity motivated her rash deeds endangering private purity thoroughly. Augur tried to understand Mio's motive, but he also exposed his own motive that he favored big breast, reassured blushing Mio patiently. Augur building assurance as postponing answers concerning sophisticated affectionate emotions. Augur assumed Mio's sadness would disappear effortlessly once lingering sensitive uncertainty eventually resolved itself. Augur left school campus with Alice and Liche, preparing investigations concerning hazardous enigmatic incidents. Liche said sorry uneasily nearby Augur, appreciating his concern as recovering sentimentally from earlier misunderstandings. Augur assembled Alice and Liche collectively, preparing strategies earlier confronting hazardous criminal enemies successfully. He described elimination objectives covertly, reconsidering Liche's utility following discovering mighty double mystical traits. Liche agreed to Augur's difficult assignment energetically, guaranteeing determined efforts, though hazardous battle situations ahead. Augur witnessed cheerful Liche curiously, recognizing her strange mystical talents could greatly influence coming battles. The group eventually arrived at questionable lakeside residence wordlessly, preparing investigations underneath dark mountainous scenery. Augur instructed Alice assuredly earlier infiltrating hazardous hideout as Liche witnessed uneasily beneath him. Alice confronted questionable outlaws straight, mentioning Alaban as pretending connections with influential hazardous acquaintances. Drunken outlaws mocked Alice thoughtlessly until she beaten multiple attackers, swiftly employing dominating battle capabilities. Alaban eventually emerged within Pack Tavern assuredly, introducing personally smugly earlier watching surprising disturbances occurring. Alice refused Alaban's peculiar proposal straight away, maintaining composure though his questionable curiosity towards her. Alice presented personally smugly nearby Liche, declaring aggressive objectives as Augur looked wordlessly beneath them. Numerous outlaws surrounded Augur's group, underestimating youthful appearances. Earlier abrupt mystical retaliation occurred. Liche concentrated vigorously, preparing mystical assaults attentively as watching approaching enemies encircling their defenseless positions. She unleashed mighty frost magic, freezing attackers promptly as dominating terrified outlaws encircling everybody. Liche maintained confident composure smugly, trapping helpless enemies thoroughly underneath unstoppable freezing mystical winds. Augur witnessed Liche's impressive ice deception attentively, acknowledging dominating mystical prowess exceeding normal fighters. Liche asked for Augur's opinion animatedly as he acknowledged her capabilities surpassing hazardous earlier competitors. Alaban assaulted abruptly towards Liche, compelling Augur guarding her straight away from surprising hazardous assault forcefully. Commended Augur mockingly thereafter. Alaban uncovering extraordinary movement speed as watching their cautious responses attentively. Liche readied strategic counterattacks assuredly, planning immobilization methods opposing Alaban's dominating speed capabilities. Augur coordinated synchronized assaults nearby Liche assuredly, seeking Alaban via attentively planned mystical cooperation. Liche pursued Alaban forcefully, attempting direct assaults as he evaded swiftly throughout battleground area. Alaban advanced, to Liche surprisingly from beneath, exploiting speed advantages opposing her distracted defenseless position thoughtlessly. Liche counterattacked straight away employing frost winds, accurately tracking Alaban's actions via encircling mystical airflow. Alaban fled freezing restraints barely. Recognizing Liche's brief reflexive magic formed hazardous battle problems, Liche asked for Augur's approval, feeling relieved following successfully supporting coordinated battle operations collectively. Augur assaulted Alaban straight, landing mighty strikes as exploiting openings formed via teamwork strategically. Alaban crashed brutally throughout battleground ground, endeavoring recovering from Augur's dominating bodily assaults straight away. Augur and Liche maintained fight stances assuredly, preparing continuation though presuming triumph advance to slowly beaten Alaban alarmed frantically. Recognizing inexperienced learners thoroughly ruined his undefeated stadium champion distinction. Beaten Alaban spotted questionable bottles abruptly, remembering hazardous substances secret everywhere criminal command center. Alaban consumed enigmatic liquid frantically as Augur and Liche witnessed peculiar transformations. Beginning straight away, Alice wondered about Alaban cautiously, noticing unnatural bodily responses circulating quickly everywhere his damaged body. Alaban laughed manically as monstrous power erupted brutally, destroying area via dominating corrupted prowess thoroughly. Augur stared speechlessly towards transformed Alaban, recognizing hazardous fight situations abruptly escalated beyond anticipations. Alice and Liche responded shockingly, witnessing abrupt occurrences amid Augur's hazardous altercation opposing Alaban. Alice alarmed straight away following noticing injuries appearing throughout Augur's face amid fierce battle opposing Alaban. Alaban developed puzzled, noticing Augur staying strangely calm though receiving agonizing surprising facial injuries. Alice tried attacking Alaban angrily as Augur restrained everybody attentively, preventing rash sensitive retaliation. Auga regained composure swiftly, preparing grave counterattacks as approaching puzzled Alaban throughout damaged tavern floors. Auga launched devastating assaults, smashing Alaban brutally throughout tavern walls amid fierce battle. He ceased attacking peacefully, questioning beaten Alaban as maintaining confident composure everywhere, destruction encircling them. Alice and Lishay respected Auga, growing thoroughly impressed by his dominating battle capabilities displayed. Alaban praised energetically though defeat, smugly declaring triumph earlier collapse onlookers. Within packed fighting stadium thought bitterly concerning endless victories, Alaban questioning private boredom though enduring undefeated fighting events. Beaten Alaban understood satisfaction, comprehending enduring desires for competitors surpassing his dominating prowess. Auga witnessed drained Alaban wordlessly as Alice and Lishay looked curiously nearby him. Alaban bowed courteously earlier Auga, requesting subordinates standing following witnessing dominating battle capabilities directly firsthand. Auga hesitated clumsily inwardly as Alice criticized Alaban's hazardous criminal background and questionable stadium aspirations. Agreed to Alaban. Auga insisting strict supervision concerning coming stadium construction and organizational undertakings. Auga instructed surprised Alice, preparing explanations concerning surprising choices concerning beaten Alaban thereafter. Auga described corrupt management-triggered criminal undertakings, proposing cleaner stadium operations benefiting everybody, fairly rather. Alice respected Auga, misunderstanding his selfish aspirations thoroughly as presuming compassionate objectives motivated the whole thing. Alaban recognized Auga's admirable character, respecting generosity beyond dominating battle prowess and leadership qualities. He pledged enduring loyalty dramatically towards Auga as Alice proceeded after faithfully beneath him. Mio responded animatedly within Cathedral campus, hearing surprising news concerning coming reinforcement for orphan youngsters. Alice reassured grateful Mio assuredly as Auga witnessed peacefully nearby drained beaten outlaws resting. Mio felt relieved sentimentally, presuming proceeded protection for youngsters persisted possible via Auga's supporting. Auga advanced to Mio, accidentally triggering terrified youngsters' misunderstanding that he made Mio cried. Youngsters furiously protected Mio, blaming Auga selfishly seeking their scarce funds and monetary means. Mio said, sorry tearfully towards Auga, faulting private ignorance concerning love for recent misunderstandings occurring. Youngsters assembled treasured belongings uneasily, offering possessions frantically as Auga witnessed puzzled expressions. One determined child stared solemnly towards Auga, guarding Mio though dominating fear. Youngsters described treasures represented fondness towards Mio, presuming aristocrats prized expensive possessions. Determined youngsters confronted Auga bravely, warning repercussions if Mio's happiness developed threatened via aristocratic interference. Mio consoled worried youngsters, assuring happiness formerly remained via their sincere companionship and fondness. Youngsters praised Mio's strange words animatedly as she secretly understood significant sensitive truths concerning Auga. Mio eventually grasped sophisticated emotions, acknowledging sensitive tears and laughter represented genuine love. Auga looked peacefully from distance, feeling satisfied seeing Mio gladly surrounded by grateful orphan youngsters. He readied returning school journey peacefully as Alice carried sleeping youngsters nearby Mio affectionately. Auga declared relocating Mio and orphan youngsters towards Vellet territory as Alice carried drained Lishay. Mio responded shockingly earlier. Auga reminded everybody he never deserted significant obligations thoroughly either. Auga covertly praised achieving multiple aspirations simultaneously, including testing Lishay and securing loyal coming labor forces. He established education and housing reinforcement, compelling former rogues towards organized stadium employment everywhere Vellet territories. Citizens commended Auga courteously as Alaban exaggerated heroic propaganda supporting Vellet's justice and rising. Auga assumed villainous aspirations progressed, dismissing Alice's affectionate respect nearby him thoroughly every day now. Karen Levitsenko strode school corridors gracefully, attracting respect as learners welcomed her energetically. Female learners respected Karen openly, praising her elegance as Auga accompanied her peacefully nearby everybody. Karen alarmed abruptly following acknowledging Auga, recalling their broken betrothal and sophisticated earlier association. Auga sensed strange concentration briefly, though Alice dismissed doubts concerning hostile objectives encircling Karen straightaway. Multiple peaceful school weeks passed peacefully as Auga and Alice proceeded normal scholar lifestyles collectively. Lishay welcomed schoolmates brightly as wearing modified practice clothes emphasizing her unusually attractive semblance. Auga responded with absolute shock straightaway, staring speechlessly towards Lichay's uncovering athletic practice uniform. Lishay described practice arrangements gladly as Auga understood future mystical exercises needed grave participation from everybody. Augur warned Li Shay, attentively opposing hiding talents, comprehending monetary struggles motivating her cautious demeanor. Augur consoled worried Li Shay, genuinely guaranteeing enduring protection as strengthening her sensitive trust towards him. Li Shay developed thoroughly bashful straightaway following hearing Augur's comforting promise concerning enduring protection. She complained shyly towards Augur, blaming his affectionate demeanor, triggering humiliating sensitive responses continually. Karen learned of Augur surrounded by admiring girls, growing stunned watching surprising affectionate occurrences occurring. Latter, Karen advanced to Augur, assuredly nearby Li Shay, greeting everybody politely as attracting encircling learners' concentration. She teased Augur peacefully concerning household responses, covertly astonishing Li Shay via surprisingly familiar interactions. Karen struggled maintaining aristocratic composure as introducing personally towards puzzled, flustered Li Shay attentively. He said, sorry concerning earlier household mistreatment, astonishing Li Shay via surprisingly gentle, considerate demeanor. She informed Augur concerning scholar committee invitations as he grasped her secret protective objectives. Straight away, Karen described private aspirations, uncovering genuine desires, helping school learners via committee undertakings regularly. She invited Augur energetically towards scholar committee membership, showing happiness concerning possible coming cooperation collectively. Augur refused Karen's request, reminding her concerning existing regal betrothal obligations and anticipations. Karen said sorry clumsily, confessing familiar habits persisted though, trying maintaining proper aristocratic demeanor. Augur bid farewell casually towards Karen, accidentally triggering powerful sensitive responses via friendly private acknowledgement. Karen alarmed inwardly, endeavoring restraining dominating discomfort triggered by Augur's surprising familiar attitude. Li Shay spotted Karen's bashful state suspiciously as Augur strode off peacefully, lacking comprehending anything. Karen welcomed Augur energetically nearby school campus, continuing increasingly friendly interactions. Continually advanced. To Augur, Karen inviting discussions clumsily earlier, leaving humiliating affectionate suggestions midway. Augur stepped into packed canteen puzzled, noticing strange atmosphere encircling normal lunchtime scholar gatherings surprisingly throughout. Nearby Alice and Li Shay, Augur wondered secretly concerning Karen's abrupt affectionate behavioral changes recently. Li Shay and Alice left animatedly towards canteen kitchens, presuming Karen and Augur developed closer relationships effortlessly. Augur spotted Crown Monarch Arnia dining closely nearby female learners within packed school canteen. Li Shay discussed Karen's betrothal curiously as Augur peacefully considered strange situations encircling their association. Li Shay learned Karen inherited sophisticated aristocratic obligations since Levitsenka. Families traditionally needed male successors. Karen's parents raised her outwardly as male, reluctantly earlier regal betrothal arrangements. Changed the whole thing. Li Shay understood Karen hid female persona sadly, empathizing greatly with enduring sensitive burdens suffered. Li Shay discussed Karen's betrothal, noticing Crown Monarch Arnia behaved closely nearby numerous female associates. Augur and Li Shay responded simultaneously following hearing astonishing comments concerning sophisticated affectionate relationships. Li Shay offered Augur candy affectionately as jealous male learners complained bitterly concerning his rising popularity. Augur copied Li Shay's demeanor, accidentally humiliating her via surprisingly direct affectionate interactions amid discussions. Li Shay thought peacefully concerning Augur's popularity, recognizing many girls respected his attractive, dependable personality. Li Shay wondered about affectionate desires curiously, wondering why relationships attracted significant concentration. She confronted Augur suspiciously, questioning whether he held inappropriate emotions towards female associates covertly. Alice presented peculiar hamburgers energetically as Li Shay responded animatedly, made Augur puzzled towards Li Shay's demeanor. Augur misinterpreted Li Shay's emotions, presuming jealousy emerged adorable rather endangering hazardous repercussions. He eventually assumed Karen advanced to him since she misinterpreted his relationships with female associates. Augur misinterpreted Karen's objectives, presuming she manipulated him, attempting provoking Crown Monarch Arnia's jealousy via romance. Smirked assuredly secretly. Augur considering retaliation schemes, opposing Karen as misunderstanding encircling relationships entirely within school politics. Augur left preparing countermeasures straight away as Alice and Li Shay wondered about his rash beliefs. 10 seasons earlier, visitors joined aristocratic festivities within enormous cathedral. Karen sniffled nearby walkways, hiding tears underneath moonlight as distant music echoed everywhere. Estates. Augur learned of Karen weeping solo, then advanced to attentively earlier speaking softly nearby flowering bushes. Karen admitted repeated punishments from her father, triggering Augur grave concern concerning household situations. Augur consoled Karen kindly, presenting decorative candy earlier building smiles amid sentimentally agonizing festivities. Gifted Karen decorative hair clip Augur guaranteeing comfort when sadness overcome her heart once more thoroughly. Karen respected Augur's generosity greatly, as shattered flowers exposed stunning accusations encircling his distinction. Relatives canceled Karen's betrothal straight away following discovering Augur's absent mystical capabilities via circulating gossip. Karen reunited uneasily nearby Augur, hiding discomfort as noticing unfamiliar armored guards accompanying him. She trembled uneasily nearby towering knight as Augur waved gladly lacking noticing discomfort thoroughly. Karen lamented leaving Augur beforehand, recalling helpless obedience towards her restraining father constantly within. She assumed damaged trust persisted irreversible, as guilt concerning Augur continuously burdened her greatly. Augur abruptly visited Karen directly, speaking assuredly as displaying dominating fondness lacking hesitation. Karen stared speechlessly towards Augur, thoroughly stunned by his surprising semblance nearby mansion corridors. Augur commended Karen warmly and asked for another gathering, departing her puzzled by abrupt generosity. Augur advanced to Karen, triggering dominating discomfort as she wondered about reality uneasily. Karen developed speechless following Augur commended her distracted countenance lovingly nearby narrow mansion hallways. Karen understood Augur's affectionate demeanor, persisted genuine, departing her heart racing uncontrollably amid separation. Liche wondered about Augur's objectives attentively, as Augur described strategic schemes concerning jealous regal concentration attentively. Augur resolved pursuing Karen forcefully would defend her from manipulative aristocrats exploiting affectionate emotions permanently. Augur announced determined pursuit towards Karen as Alice and Liche witnessed his assurance. Augur continuously complimented Karen, triggering dominating discomfort amid repeated private encounters. Female learners discussed Augur's affectionate pursuit outwardly, circulating gossip concerning Karen's rising association throughout. Karen misinterpreted Augur's compliments romantically, presuming mutual fondness remained among each aristocratic learners thoroughly. She imagined marriage and youngsters animatedly earlier collapsing dramatically from dominating affectionate delusions within. Karen accompanied attendants reluctantly, preparing scheduled supper gathering with crown monarch Arnia uneasily within. Monarch Arnia stood impatiently within luxurious dining hall, criticizing Karen straight away about arrival earlier discussions. Karen said sorry courteously towards Arnia, as Monarch responded casually though obvious secret objectives underneath politeness. Monarch Arnia demanded extra funds from Karen once more, saying brief monetary problems needed supporting. Karen protested earlier payments furiously, as Arnia justified expenses via absurd excuses concerning commoners' lifestyles. Karen hesitated uneasily as Monarch Arnia wondered about her inability requesting monetary reinforcement from relatives. She remembered cruel handling beforehand, endured when household relatives learned of Monarch Arnia's continual blackmail, declined reluctantly, Karen trembling fearfully as recalling agonizing repercussions triggered via disobeying Arnia. Monarch Arnia smirked, guaranteeing independent arrangements concerning asked for payments earlier departing peacefully. Persisted seated wordlessly, Karen recalling unfinished affairs as Monarch Arnia anticipated coming meetings eagerly. Karen described uncomfortable emotions, uncovering secret reasons beneath continual irritation towards another scholar. Monarch Arnia criticized Karen's red hair cruelly earlier departing chamber with ridiculing expressions beneath. Karen recalled Arnia insisting absolute cross-dressing commitment, including shortened hair and female semblance permanently. She thought wordlessly as staring towards scissors, questioning lingering attachment concerning long hairstyle choices. Karen covertly desired normal female clothing, leaving restrictive disguises maintained everywhere aristocratic school life. Karen grabbed cherished hair clip, recalling Augur's sincere compliments concerning beautiful semblance beforehand spoken lovingly. Augur encouraged Karen assuredly, guaranteeing sensitive reinforcement via meaningful hair clip gift and gentle reassurance. Karen broke sentimentally as guarding treasured hairstyle, recognizing Augur's generosity changed private emotions thoroughly. Augur, Liche, and Alice confronted a figure, questioning peculiar familiarity growing among Augur and the figure. It was Reina Milfanti, the scholar committee leader, astonishing Augur with each puzzled Alice and Liche. Reina wondered about Augur's beliefs peacefully. She redirected discussions towards absent Karen amid lunch. Augur learned Karen skipped significant meetings surprisingly, growing doubts encircling her unexplained disappearance everywhere school campus. Reina asked for Augur's supporting, searching campus attentively, presuming hazardous situations possibly threatened Karen's current well-being. Alice casually called Augur affectionately, unclear him as learners cross school courtyard wordlessly collectively. Liche suggested absurd aliases teasingly as Augur refused the whole thing, addressing scholar committee affairs solemnly. Reina wondered about Augur concerning Monarch Arnia's demeanor towards Karen, triggering uncomfortable silence among schoolmates. Augur misinterpreted Reina's concerns thoroughly, assuming normal association troubles as continuing walking peacefully ahead. Reina commended Augur's loyalty passionately, departing him stunned as misunderstanding gossip encircling his distinction. Reina exposed Monarch Arnia extorted Karen continually, rendering Augur eventually understand Liche's alarming concerns. Liche described Karen's suffering sentimentally as exposing Monarch Arnia's vicious demeanor towards defenseless schoolmates. Augur persisted speechless wordlessly, recognizing grave misunderstandings surrounded relationships. Reina encouraged cooperation opposing Monarch Arnia, as Augur learned of Karen hid significant information. Augur recalled Karen's affectionate demeanor uneasily, reconsidering enigmatic interactions shared amid earlier encounters. Augur alarmed inwardly, recognizing Karen misinterpreted his demeanor. Karen blushed, presuming Augur's generosity carried affectionate meaning, though their sophisticated misunderstanding thoroughly. Augur resolved gathering Karen straightaway prevented more uncertainty, departing Scholar Committee affairs temporarily beneath. He crossed silent school hallways swiftly, heading straight towards Karen's personal dormitory chamber solo. He learned of drained Karen sleeping within cramped storage space, deepening his guilty emotions considerably. Later, Augur learned of Karen hiding uneasily within storage closet, straightaway confronting her questionable demeanor. Karen alarmed, questioning Augur's surprising arrival as frantically concealing sensitive vulnerability underneath discomfort. Augur recognized Karen's peculiar habit peacefully, recalling similar moments shared everywhere childhood collectively. Karen responded clumsily towards Augur, endeavoring sentimentally as sitting wordlessly within cramped closet space. She admitted private weakness, sadly presuming aristocratic anticipations prevented meaningful private growth thoroughly forever. Augur grabbed Karen's hands softly, interrupting self-deprecating reflections as building her sensitive recovery. Karen resisted tearfully, ashamed appearing defenseless earlier. Augur, though, hiding loneliness everywhere school life, consoled Karen honestly. Augur describing familiarity with her tears from numerous childhood events collectively beforehand. Augur promised enduring friendship genuinely, allowing Karen leaving aristocratic pretenses when confronting him sentimentally thereafter. Praised inwardly, Augur presuming childhood friendship standing prevented Karen growing affectionate emotions towards him permanently. Karen embraced Augur tightly, gladly accepting his comforting promise as showing dominating sensitive relief straightaway. Augur misinterpreted Karen's fondness thoroughly, presuming her grateful embrace represented normal friendly appreciation merely. Karen interpreted Augur's promise romantically rather, deciding permanently staying nearby him lacking hesitation. Karen regained cheerful composure nearby Augur, as each ready departing storage chamber collectively peacefully. Abrupt loud noise echoed outdoors school structure, interrupting their peaceful discussions surprisingly amid nighttime entirely. Augur protected Karen attentively amid abrupt jump, accidentally bearing her closely throughout school corridors hurriedly. Karen developed highly flustered nearby Augur, endeavoring restraining emotions as staying pressed opposing him. Augur carried Karen quietly towards Scholar Committee chamber, misunderstanding her bashful affectionate thrill. Scholar Committee leader Reina stood patiently within gathering chamber, noticing Karen's delayed surprising arrival. Karen said, sorry frantically earlier. Reina, as Augur witnessed clumsily nearby flustered Scholar Committee relatives. Reina agreed to Karen's apology, stopping needless penalty earlier addressing urgent school affairs solemnly. She exposed concerns concerning Monarch Arnia, triggering Karen and Augur watching each other uneasily. Augur suggested peaceful reconciliation clumsily, as Karen persisted uncertain handling Monarch Arnia's troubling demeanor thoroughly solo. Reina proposed school dueling system assuredly, inspiring Augur and Karen considering hazardous altercation opposing Arnia. Karen responded uneasily as match rules described public battles, allowing winners receive recognition earlier assembled school learners formally amid disputes. Augur peacefully understood challenging Monarch Arnia openly offered perfect opportunities, as Karen alarmed over hazardous repercussions encircling regal battle matches. He straightaway agreed to Reina's proposal assuredly, stunning Karen thoroughly as Reina witnessed wordlessly nearby towering classroom windows attentively lacking hesitation. Reina exposed extra match terms solemnly, compelling losers obey winners thoroughly as Karen wondered about Augur's rash determination uneasily within school. Augur announced his challenge opposing Monarch Arnia firmly, dismissing possible risks as maintaining calm countenance, earlier astonished schoolmates entirely wordlessly. Karen blushed vigorously following recognizing Augur agreed to hazardous obligations directly, refusing allowing her burden affect significant school affairs anymore. Augur praised opportunities defeating Monarch Arnia brutally, as Reina peacefully organized match arrangements earlier, dismissing drained learners from command center entirely. Karen failed composure thoroughly within Auger's arms, triggering Reina irritation, as viewing their humiliating interaction unfold throughout packed school corridors wordlessly. Reina laughed peacefully nearby moonlit windows, satisfied since Auger followed her anticipations perfectly as preparing coming entertainment concerning hazardous mystical battles. She anticipated Auger's future match eagerly, wanting proof whether rumored magic-canceling capabilities genuinely threatened Monarch Arnia's dominating mystical prowess. Reina recalled Auger's determined countenance, growing fascinated since his honest eyes carried powerful conviction amid hazardous match acceptance moments. She laughed solo nearby tall windows, overcome sentimentally as picturing Auger confronting mighty enemies, lacking fear earlier numerous school learners. Vast posters announcing Auger's match opposing Monarch Arnia spread quickly, attracting excited learners everywhere. Packed school campus straightaway throughout. Auger stared wordlessly towards enormous posters. Stunned Reina secured Monarch Arnia's approval swiftly, as concentration encircling him increased dramatically overnight. Li Shay developed, surrounded forcefully by newspaper club relatives requesting photographs, as puzzled learners respected her surprising connection towards Auger. Alice furiously restrained Li Shay, stopping excessive demeanor as Auger looked their chaotic interaction peacefully throughout busy school walkways wordlessly. Li Shay commended Auger animatedly following learning Reina covertly described Karen's situation, triggering respect towards his deeds increased greatly among learners. Alice said, sorry genuinely towards Auger, recognizing his deeds protected Karen attentively as Auger misinterpreted rising popularity encircling personally thoroughly. Alice and Li Shay promised supporting Auger amid his hazardous match, building him energetically earlier. Significant school events formally started soon. Auger appreciated each girl's politely earlier requesting personal discussion, preparing reveal strategic schemes concerning his future match opposing Monarch Arnia. Alice grasped Auger's objectives plainly, recognizing he desired Monarch Arnia improve personally as treating Lady Levitsenka courteously from now onward. Auger smugly exposed absurd operation schemes, departing Alice and Li Shay, speechless as misunderstanding his peculiar assurance thoroughly within command center. Monarch Arnia abruptly visited their isolated structure directly, stunning Alice and Li Shay as interrupting Auger's bizarre strategic planning gathering surprisingly nearby. Auger politely appreciated Monarch Arnia for accepting match arrangements, as Alice wondered about questionable situations encircling surprising regal semblance attentively within. Monarch Arnia forcefully advanced to Auger straightaway, creating tense atmosphere as Alice witnessed wordlessly beneath each determined school aristocrats uneasily standing. Monarch Arnia furiously insulted Auger outwardly, questioning his objectives as challenging him forcefully. Monarch Arnia exposed sensational newspapers dramatically, exposing fabricated romance stories concerning Karen as ridiculing Auger's public heroic distinction thoroughly. Monarch Arnia described manipulating gossip, presuming intense scandals increased entertainment value as Auger heard wordlessly nearby puzzled associates within command center. Monarch Arnia smugly admitted scheduling matches swiftly for popularity, triggering Auger misunderstand the whole thing as considering him surprisingly intelligent rather nearby. Auger doubted Monarch Arnia could change thoroughly, presuming his arrogant personality would remain unchanged regardless match results among each aristocrats. Eventually, Monarch Arnia peacefully dismissed Auger's concerns, saying uncovering his real personality would never create grave private problems. For personally, Alice and Li Shay looked Monarch Arnia wordlessly, growing puzzled as watching his relaxed attitude amid tense altercation. Auger grasped Monarch Arnia's objectives plainly, refusing surrender Alice and Li Shay though acknowledging secret motives beneath arrogant provocations straightaway nearby. Monarch Arnia spotted Auger guarding each girl's attentively, finding his attachment towards associates surprisingly amusing amid their heated altercation within command center. He smugly admitted enjoying stealing women forcefully, stunning Auger thoroughly as Alice responded brutally opposing his shameful statement straightaway nearby. Monarch Arnia advanced to Alice arrogantly, provoking everybody deliberately as extending his hand assuredly amid the escalating altercation within command center. Alice stared coldly towards Monarch Arnia wordlessly, questioning his rash demeanor as hazardous strains spread heavily throughout the encircling atmosphere. Monarch Arnia abruptly grabbed Li Shay, provoking strains straightaway as Alice looked wordlessly nearby each hostile school aristocrats attentively nearby. Abruptly, Auger intercepted Monarch Arnia's attack forcefully, guarding Alice and Li Shay as preventing hazardous conflict from escalating more within command center. Auger warned Monarch Arnia solemnly opposing endangering Alice and Li Shay, triggering brief silence among each stubborn school aristocrat standing faceward collectively. Monarch Arnia laughed assuredly towards Auger's reaction, acknowledging his protective demeanor as testing his personality via deliberate provocation attentively. Monarch Arnia retreated peacefully earlier, continuing match arrangements, as Augur, Alice, and Liche understood hazardous altercation almost erupted brutally nearby. Monarch Arnia developed frustrated, viewing Augur defend others strictly, presuming his unwise demeanor would eventually create greater hazardous misunderstandings. Liche and Alice appreciated Augur genuinely for guarding them, as praising Monarch Arnia sarcastically though, staying terrified from altercation moments earlier. Alice discussed Monarch Arnia solemnly, describing his secret mystical talent and neglected education as questioning regal anticipations encircling coming succession. Augur carried Liche comfortably throughout school campus, inviting Alice accompany them as preparing enigmatic schemes concerning future match arrangements. Alice understood Augur guided them towards the training tower, comprehending he intended special practice earlier hazardous altercation opposing Monarch Arnia formally. Liche wondered about entering the training tower uneasily since school rules normally prohibited first-year learners accessing restricted practice facilities. Augur assuredly exposed a special tower key, astonishing Alice and Liche as unlocking restricted practice opportunities for hazardous match preparation. Augur described Reina covertly lent him the tower key as Reina abruptly emerged earlier everybody within quiet school library. Reina permitted Augur and Liche skip classes temporarily, allowing extended training sessions earlier. The match opposing Monarch Arnia formally begins soon. She assuredly reminded Augur concerning her school authority, preparing organized practice attentively as maintaining absolute control over significant match arrangements. Augur assembled everybody within immense training tower preparing secret strategies, attentively earlier hazardous match opposing Monarch Arnia formally starts soon. He described defeating magicians lacking employing magic cancellation capabilities, astonishing Alice and Liche, with an enormous school practice chamber thoroughly nearby. Alice straightaway grasped Augur's reasoning, recognizing public match terms prevented uncovering forbidden capabilities earlier numerous viewing school learners outwardly. Augur asked for Liche's supporting aid solemnly, asking her create artificial snow, employing ice magic for special battle practice exercises within tower. Liche unleashed mighty ice magic everywhere immense chamber, covering training tower thoroughly as Augur witnessed experimental practice terms attentively nearby Alice. Augur commended Liche's beautiful ice magic, triggering her discomfort as snowflakes drifted peacefully throughout immense training chamber. He said sorry genuinely towards Liche and Alice, guaranteeing triumph amid hazardous match as accepting responsibility guarding each girls thoroughly. Liche developed bashful viewing shirtless Augur abruptly prepare practice, exercises solemnly as trusting his assurance concerning future hazardous match. Augur declared meditation practice, unclear Alice and Liche as describing bodily conditioning persisted significant with mystical battle preparation methods. Augur admitted scarce battle experience honestly recognizing earlier reliance about magic cancellation capabilities formed hazardous weaknesses opposing normal magicians. Augur described enduring snow magic continuously would strengthen his body, allowing battle awareness lacking depending about magic cancellation capabilities anymore. Alice supported Augur's harsh practice methods peacefully, as Liche worried excessive exposure towards snow magic might solemnly damage his welfare. Liche wondered about whether Augur's rash practice persisted survivable, growing increasingly concerned concerning hazardous preparation methods earlier future match formally begins. Regained assurance slowly, Liche deciding maintain snow magic constantly since she trusted Augur's determination and private prowess thoroughly amid practice sessions. Augur appreciated Liche genuinely for assisting practice, as she promised recreating disappearing ice continually everywhere extended preparation exercises within training tower. Augur meditated peacefully underneath falling snow magic, as Alice and Liche witnessed his strange practice methods with rising respect. He described invisible spirits remain throughout, staying undetectable normally as forming foundations beneath every mystical phenomenon within human community. Augur described elemental spirits attentively, describing matching mystical traits transformed spiritual energy into visible mystical capabilities used amid battle frequently. He exposed his incompatible magic aptitude, honestly describing inherited power lacked matching spirits though, possessing immense mystical prowess effortlessly from birth. Augur described magic cancellation capabilities reasonably, uncovering his poisonous magic disrupted spirits straight earlier competitors, activated hazardous mystical assaults. Augur proceeded analyzing magic concluding magicians depended thoroughly about mystical power, though losing access towards cancellation capabilities temporarily. Alice and Liche looked wordlessly nearby meditating Augur, watching his concentration as snow magic proceeded encircling immense training chamber thoroughly. Liche and Alice relaxed collectively within snow-covered tower, passing time peacefully as supporting Auger's exhausting practice arrangements continuously everywhere training sessions. Earlier the match advanced. To Auger instructed Li Shay stop recreating disappearing ice magic as Alice persisted resting peacefully nearby her comfortably nearby. Li Shay responded with uncertainty straight away, noticing surprising changes occurring nearby Auger amid fierce mystical practice. Auger sensed disappearing ice magic as meditating blindly, astonishing Li Shay since fluctuating snow duration beforehand depended entirely. Eventually Auger grasped mystical perception, opening his eyes assuredly as recognizing battle awareness no longer needed cancellation capabilities anymore amid battles. Auger announced triumph opposing coming magicians assuredly, demonstrating improved bodily awareness as Alice and Li Shay looked wordlessly. Learners stepped into the immense stadium as readied wordlessly, expecting fierce matches earlier influential aristocrats viewing attentively throughout from balconies. Onlookers discussed possible winners until Ouga Vellet emerged smugly nearby aristocrats, straightaway drawing stunned concentration everywhere. The packed stadium hallways, Ouga welcomed another aristocrat peacefully, yet encircling audiences responded uneasily since his distinction terrified many families attending the tournament regularly. Flown advanced to Ouga courteously amid discussions concerning Ouga, as Ouga smugly commended his son's accomplishments within the school campus assuredly. Flown described Ouga's rapid feats attentively, then asked for Ouga's permission concerning significant affairs connected straight towards the duel's winner selection. Flown and Ouga persisted seated, addressing tournament schedules as waiting patiently earlier the significant match formally began within peacefully. Auger stepped into the contestant waiting chamber, discovering Karen hiding underneath tables, uneasily nearby untouched meals, and scattered expensive desserts throughout. Karen feared humiliating defeat opposing the crowned monarch as Auger wondered about her worries though comprehending outrageous repercussions thoroughly forfeit demands. Auger convinced Karen nearby luxurious couches, triggering her discomfort as each rested peacefully earlier entering the packed stadium collectively soon. Karen wondered about Auger's assurance since magic persisted unusable, yet Auger exposed readied countermeasures opposing competitors earlier competing solemnly amid matches. Karen trusted Auger thoroughly, triggering him uncertainty as considering possible rewards demanded from the crowned monarch following triumph. Amid matches, Auger resolved granting Karen freedom from political betrothal persisted better, though Karen responded with dominating surprise nearby him. Auger misinterpreted Karen's rising fondness thoroughly, presuming she only desired reconciliation with the crowned monarch via peaceful betrothal and marriage. He advanced to Karen closely earlier questioning her sincere emotions straight, departing Karen speechless as staring uneasily towards his countenance wordlessly. Auger peacefully inquired Karen concerning her deepest wish, creating fierce strain as each learners persisted seated collectively within uneasily nearby. Karen hesitated wordlessly, as considering Auger's question attentively, endeavoring comprehending private desire's secret greatly within her puzzled heart thoroughly. She wondered about whether uncovering her real emotions persisted acceptable, since those emotions stayed secret covertly for many agonizing seasons inwardly. Karen tearfully confessed wanting eternal companionship nearby Auger, eventually showing emotions she continuously suppressed everywhere childhood friendships and school life. Auger misinterpreted Karen's admission entirely, presuming she yet desired permanent happiness collectively nearby the crowned monarch, though obvious affectionate fondness displayed. Assuredly, Auger promised Karen her wish would become reality after the match, as walking determinedly towards the stadium entrance solo wordlessly. The enormous stadium developed silent as officials readied the battleground attentively, signaling the official beginning for significant school dueling. Auger stepped into assuredly nearby Arnia Rondism, as announcers presented each first-year learners earlier excited audiences encircling the immense stadium. Female learners allowed supported Arnia energetically, as many others furiously criticized Auger since earlier incidents formed numerous private grudges everywhere school circles. Arnia wondered about Auger's strange popularity jokingly, as Auger ignored needless cheering and persisted expressionless earlier beginning their official match within peacefully. Tournament officials instructed Auger and Arnia attentively, ordering each participant straightaway wear fight coats and protective gloves earlier battle formally began. Auger wore his fight coat attentively as standing peacefully within the stadium, preparing personally solemnly earlier confronting Arnia. Auger and Arnia exchanged silent glances, creating awkward strain as audiences witnessed each competitors attentively from encircling spectator seats. Arnia asked for switching coat colors jokingly since black clothing displeased him, though Auger straightaway refused the peculiar proposal lacking hesitation thoroughly. Officials described mystical tools attached permanently onto fight coats, confirming match results automatically as each learner's finalized arrangements. Collectively peacefully, the referee formally declared match commencement allowed, as Arnia assuredly advanced to a head opposing Augur underneath dominating cheers from audiences. Arnia straightaway activated Earth Spirit magic forcefully, crouching low as mystical symbols spread quickly underneath the immense battleground floor. Enormous stone pillars erupted brutally towards Augur, yet Augur avoided direct assaults peacefully as debris scattered everywhere the stadium wildly. Onlookers respected Arnia energetically, since secret Earth magic capabilities surprised audiences greatly, as Augur witnessed those methods attentively lacking panicking. Arnia smugly described concealing mystical capabilities intentionally from school learners, presuming his dominating power formally secured certain triumph opposing Augur. Augur acknowledged Arnia's secret prowess peacefully, then announced possessing countermeasures capable of opposing every mystical attribute used amid battles. Arnia warned Augur assuredly, preparing an immense earth spell capable of destroying competitors thoroughly as encircling onlookers looked uneasily. Proceeded chanting attentively, Arnia gathering shattered stones and sand fragments collectively as mystical energy intensified throughout the immense battleground quickly. Augur spotted Arnia focusing entirely about spellcasting lacking defense, triggering disbelief since competitors normally avoided exposing themselves thoughtlessly amid matches outwardly. Arnia raised gigantic earth formations forcefully overhead, departing his whole body defenseless as Augur persisted standing peacefully earlier the incoming attack. Gordon visited Augur's study smugly, as Augur proceeded working solemnly those suggestions building brief rest from exhausting arrangements. Augur described lacking mystical talent compelling continual practice efforts preventing disgrace towards the mighty Vellet household name and distinction. Gordon heard wordlessly as Augur announced aspirations, growing an influential aristocratic identical towards his respected father via determined continuous improvement. Augur recalled relentless practice, mystical research, and battle training vigorously, strengthening unwavering determination earlier confronting the crown monarch outwardly. Standing earlier Arnia assuredly, Augur spotted hazardous openings straightaway presuming dominating triumph persisted possible via dominating bodily prowess solo amid battle. Arnia arrogantly mocked Augur, presuming dominating mystical pressure prevented movement thoroughly, as disappointing Augur's anticipations concerning meaningful battle. Arnia proceeded boasting smugly concerning unfinished mystical methods, as Augur calculated numerous opportunities formerly capable ending battles promptly. Augur considered defeating Arnia swiftly via simple assaults, finding prolonged speeches thoroughly uninteresting as watching careless actions throughout battleground spaces. Wordlessly, Arnia announced regal blood guaranteed superiority effortlessly, offending Augur's capabilities as blaming him thoroughly leaving proper practice and discipline everywhere seasons. He threatened killing Augur outwardly earlier onlookers deliberately, intending sensitive suffering towards female supporters via terrifying displays of dominating mystical authority. Augur dismissed Arnia coldly, calling him boring, as staying thoroughly unaffected by arrogant warnings and meaningless intimidation. Arnia mocked Karen disrespectfully, comparing her towards worthless possessions as Augur refused disgusting comments, lacking changing his calm countenance thereafter thoroughly. Arnia laughed aloud as insisting explanations concerning Karen's importance, continuing insults thoughtlessly throughout the battleground earlier numerous viewing onlookers and aristocrats. He wondered about Karen's value cruelly, triggering Augur immense shock since those hateful words straight insulted someone precious sentimentally towards him. Augur recalled Karen's memories, sensitive reflections encircling him strengthened her emotions though dominating nervousness viewing hazardous battles unfold. Karen's smile filled Augur's head, triggering sensitive reinforcement towards him though hazardous terms encircling the fierce match currently. Augur developed enraged straightaway following Arnia insulted Karen continually, releasing dominating killing intent everywhere. The enormous stadium earlier onlookers wordlessly. Arnia assuredly assembled immense mystical energy, presuming Augur lacked capabilities necessary approaching him straight amid their hazardous altercation outwardly within arenas. He unleashed mighty earth rain magic abruptly, covering immense sections of battleground space employing numerous destructive stone projectiles, simultaneously opposing Augur. Onlookers alarmed viewing devastating assaults descend quickly, as Karen frantically screamed Augur's name presuming fatal injuries developed thoroughly unavoidable. Arnia abruptly spotted something strange happening within battleground chaos, growing visibly stunned as watching Augur's surprising responses towards mystical assaults. Augur shifted smoothly via numerous falling rocks, shunning every hazardous projectile perfectly though devastating mystical destruction encircling each duelist. Arnia looked uneasily as Augur dodged impossible assaults effortlessly, endeavoring comprehending how anyone survived dominating mystical bombardments continuously lacking injuries. Augur closed his eyes peacefully amid actions, saying fierce practice eliminated concern towards frail mystical methods and careless assaults entirely thereafter. He promptly advanced to Arnia's straight, uncovering absolute awareness towards mystical energy itself as standing highly close earlier terrified competitors wordlessly. Augur assaulted promptly following approaching Arnia, delivering dominating punches straight towards the crowned monarch. Earlier onlookers responded correctly. Arnia collapsed heavily throughout battleground floors, as audiences understood Augur's bodily strike carried terrifying destructive power beyond anticipations thoroughly. Augur grabbed Arnia forcefully as mentioning Karen's tears furiously, insisting immediate continuation since their match persisted unfinished though agonizing injuries. Arnia groaned helplessly as trapped within Augur's grip, endeavoring recovering consciousness after devastating assaults obtained amid close-range battle moments beforehand. Augur spotted Arnia losing consciousness surprisingly, growing puzzled since he intentionally restrained bodily prowess attentively amid every delivered punch. Augur looked Arnia collapse thoroughly throughout ruined battleground floors. As onlookers frantically pleaded immediate termination earlier, more violence proceeded. Arnia persisted unconscious about shattered stadium tiles clumsily, creating absolute silence among stunned audiences witnessing humiliating defeat. Learners avoided viewing Arnia more, considering his beaten semblance shameful as many supporters straightaway deserted respect towards the crowned monarch thoroughly. Officials formally declared Ouga Vellet's triumph aloud, as Augur responded clumsily since dominating results exceeded his original fight anticipations greatly. 23 minutes after commencement, the fierce match among Augur and Arnia decided thoroughly earlier astonished aristocrats, teachers, and school learners. Augur assumed defeating Arnia successfully permitted reconciliation among Karen and the crowned monarch, accomplishing intended objectives thoroughly though disappointing battle. Imagine coming villainous success foolishly, he dreaming immense harems encircling him as misunderstanding sophisticated affectionate emotions nearby relationships thoroughly thereafter. Officials declared transferring winner privileges towards Karen straight, triggering uncertainty everywhere audiences as Karen uneasily advanced to the stadium stage gradually thereafter. Augur abruptly recalled Karen supposedly intended reconciling romantically nearby the crowned monarch outwardly, growing excited, expecting effective association restoration straight away thereafter. Karen stared lovingly towards Augur assuredly, wordlessly guaranteeing private reinforcement as Augur persisted thoroughly unaware concerning her genuine affectionate emotions entirely. Karen stepped earlier onlookers uneasily, addressing Arnia outwardly as preparing significant requests connected straight towards earlier betrothal arrangements. She abruptly asked for betrothal cancellation thoroughly, then openly announced desires growing engaged towards Augur rather earlier stunned audiences. Augur responded with dominating uncertainty straight away, as encircling learners and aristocrats developed equally stunned hearing Karen's surprising declaration outwardly everywhere arenas. Gordon and Floan gladly congratulated Augur smugly as Augur frantically wondered about Karen concerning surprising statements declared earlier numerous onlookers outwardly nearby. Augur alarmed thoroughly earlier Gordon and Floan, presuming Karen's declaration resulted from misunderstandings as frantically requesting clarification concerning betrothal arrangements. Floan exposed official permissions approving Karen's request formally remained, including signatures from Gordon, Karen's household, and the kingdom authorities. Augur alarmed hearing even the king approved betrothal arrangements as Karen blushed heavily nearby puzzled viewing onlookers. Augur understood official betrothal towards Karen thoroughly ruined coming harem aspirations, promptly triggering intense despair everywhere encircling audiences and school campus. 3 hours after the match, Augur rested drained within the infirmary as recovering peacefully from dominating bodily and sensitive uncertainty. Augur wondered about Karen's objectives uneasily within bedchambers. Earlier Karen abruptly emerged nearby him asking whether he persisted awake. Augur complained clumsily concerning Karen's surprising admission, yet recovering within infirmary beds as trying comprehending recent betrothal chaos. Karen advanced to Augur attentively, worrying concerning his state as staying anxious concerning their abrupt association announcement within school halls. Augur stared wordlessly towards Karen's semblance, growing thoroughly puzzled since her closeness and demeanor abruptly felt strangely unfamiliar within the infirmary chamber. Augur woke in spacious infirmary puzzled, noticing Karen's chest semblance straight away as endeavoring comprehending her strange female school uniform. Augur developed distracted viewing Karen's chest bouncing excessively, triggering him panic wordlessly as examining her unfamiliar semblance attentively. Karen described her father joined future match directly, reluctantly allowing her request changing traditional clothing customs thoroughly within aristocratic community rules. She recalled her father leaving restrictive anticipations eventually, permitting masculine traditions disappear as building freedom concerning private semblance choices permanently. Karen smugly displayed redesigned school uniform gladly, as flustered Augur admitted her semblance matched perfectly, though dominating nervousness encircling their interaction. Karen reminded Augur concerning his earlier response solemnly, uncovering she interpreted his words as enduring commitment towards their association. Augur alarmed straightaway following hearing Karen's explanation, recognizing accidentally misinterpreted promises formed major uncertainty among each learner sentimentally. Karen assembled courage gradually as approaching Augur, preparing confess emotions secret greatly everywhere, their sophisticated association until now directly. She carried Augur's hand tightly, guaranteeing become dependable wife as showing sincere devotion towards him though dominating anxious emotions. Karen formally asked for betrothal from Augur straight sitting nearby him peacefully as awaiting his answer within peaceful infirmary chamber uneasily. Karen admitted private weaknesses honestly as guaranteeing reinforcement Augur faithfully, wanting repay generosity he beforehand displayed her sentimentally thoroughly nearby. Augur alarmed inwardly over Karen's betrothal request, recalling absurd harem aspirations conflicting heavily with surprising affectionate occurrences encircling him. Abruptly, Augur spotted Karen's attractiveness solemnly, growing distracted as reconsidering emotions towards his childhood friend attentively within. Augur struggled balancing harem fantasies opposing reality, recognizing Karen matched many impossible qualities he respected, covertly everywhere childhood seasons perfectly. He agreed to Karen's betrothal proposal solemnly, rendering her highly happy as secretly continuing reflections concerning impossible harem visions covertly. Karen shifted closer towards Augur uneasily, creating intimate atmosphere as each struggled restraining dominating emotions. Karen and Augur almost kissed passionately, staring closely towards each other as hesitation wordlessly interrupted their sensitive betrothal moment. Liche abruptly burst within aloud, stunning Karen straightaway as thoroughly destroying affectionate strain encircling each flustered learners. Liche asked for personal discussion with Karen solemnly, leading her outdoors as puzzled Augur looked their abrupt departure wordlessly from beneath attentively. Liche insulted Augur furiously thereafter, faulting him harshly as guarding Karen sentimentally from sophisticated affectionate occurrences, encircling their betrothal situation. Augur persisted puzzled within infirmary chamber solo, thoroughly unaware his betrothal acceptance formed sensitive chaos encircling multiple girls. Liche uneasily brought Karen outdoors peacefully, endeavoring explain sophisticated emotions as each strode via long school corridors collectively wordlessly. Liche clumsily congratulated Karen genuinely concerning betrothal news, as Karen responded uneasily since official arrangements persisted thoroughly undecided among each families. Liche abruptly announced Karen her affectionate rival passionately, stunning Karen thoroughly as announcing fierce tournament concerning Augur's fondness outwardly nearby. Karen alarmed straightaway following comprehending Liche's emotions towards Augur, recognizing betrothal solo could not secure his fondness permanently. For personally, Karen understood Liche held impressive mystical talent covertly, triggering concern since mighty capabilities sophisticated affectionate rivalry encircling Augur. Liche examined Augur's match capabilities attentively, recognizing he avoided Monarch Arnia's magic perfectly though, lacking proper magician battle experience beforehand. Karen appreciated Augur genuinely with gentle countenance, presuming his deeds permitted her overcome agonizing struggles encircling household anticipations sentimentally. Liche respected Karen vigorously following hearing heartfelt thanks, growing fascinated by her assurance as sensitive thrill overcome her reflections straightaway nearby. Alice looked each girls arguing clumsily deciding Augur's influence resolved Karen's problems successfully though, chaotic affectionate misunderstandings encircling everybody. Alice peacefully wondered about current regal affairs, wondering how Monarch Arnia's father responded. Within Rondism Castle, Gordon and Floan advanced to the throne attentively as addressing rising gossip circulating everywhere aristocrats concerning future school match events. Regal reports exposed Karen ended her betrothal with Monarch Arnia, as renewed betrothal discussions concerning Augur straightaway followed outwardly. King Imbard heard solemnly towards detailed explanations concerning match repercussions, as Gordon and Floan witnessed his responses uneasily. King Imbard commended completed arrangements peacefully, allowing regal proceedings continue freely, as attendants courteously agreed to his authority, lacking raising objections more. Imbard discussed school affairs peacefully with Gordon and Floan, showing surprise Enju agreed to Augur though his poor classroom participation. The king lamented treating Augur harshly beforehand, presuming normal scholar events would correct arrogance earlier discovering agonizing misunderstandings. Imbard recognized Chris Ragnica straightaway from significant documents, remembering sophisticated events connected towards respected Holy Knight leadership positions. He recalled Chris held powerful justice and leadership qualities, as peacefully regretting mistakes committed opposing her amid earlier political disputes inwardly. Mbard thought sorrowfully about corrupt aristocrats manipulating situations cruelly, recognizing Chris endured greatly since banishment protected her from hazardous political schemes. Gordon courteously assured Mbard needless worries persisted unfounded, presuming recent occurrences encircling Augur and Chris progressed favorably. He described Chris cooperated successfully nearby Augur, sharing similar ideals as Mbard heard attentively towards building reports concerning their association progress. The king dismissed each attendance peacefully underneath starry skies, ending grave regal discussions concerning school disputes and aristocratic household complications. Gordon asked for protection for Chris and the Levitsenka household attentively, as departing regal attendants agreed to obligations lacking showing more disagreement. Moonlight illuminated immense school buildings wordlessly, as calm nighttime scenery contrasted hazardous tensions encircling. Floan thought peacefully about recent political schemes, recognizing competitors manipulated situations encircling Augur better effectively than originally anticipated. Floan examined strengthened alliances encircling Augur attentively, comprehending regal approval restored mighty aristocratic reinforcement towards the recovering Levitsenka household once more. Floan advanced to Reyna solemnly, sensing secret emotions underneath Reyna's calm demeanor, as questioning whether she persisted awake intentionally. Reyna replied courteously. Earlier Floan witnessed her closely, noticing strange determination secret beneath Reyna's controlled countenance within quiet school chambers. Floan abruptly assaulted Reyna amid practice training fiercely, compelling Reyna defend personally straight away as fierce pressure filled the encircling chamber. Floan angrily rebuked Reyna for proposing rash matches needlessly, faulting her unwise choices for deepening hazardous school disputes. Reyna said sorry weakly as describing anticipations concerning Augur's magic cancellation capabilities, though Floan brutally refused excuses amid brutal practice penalty. Floan mentioned future school magic competitions coldly, signaling coming obligations as Reyna suffered agonizing discipline wordlessly. Then Floan ordered Reyna secure Augur's loyalty straight away, endangering severe repercussions about failure as Reyna heard fearfully underneath dominating pressure from anticipations. Reyna agreed to Floan's commands obediently, though injuries covering her body, guaranteeing fulfill assigned duties lacking resistance towards coming school schemes. Floan thought uneasily about Reyna's emotionless obedience, considering her increasingly disturbing demeanor though, staying responsible school scholar. Floan understood Reyna developed thoroughly controllable surprisingly, as Reyna covertly anticipated enjoying coming schemes concerning Augur and school disputes directly. Learners commended Augur energetically throughout school corridors, addressing heroic deeds concerning Karen and orphanage protection. Amid earlier incidents, Augur heard learners calling him saintly courteously, staying puzzled since public respect proceeded rising beyond his comprehending everywhere school campus constantly. Augur strode assuredly nearby Li Shay and Alice via packed hallways, as encircling learners looked their strange group with curiosity wordlessly throughout. Augur misinterpreted rising respect thoroughly, presuming learners commended his rebellion opposing royalty rather of heroic deeds. Karen energetically joined Augur's group, outwardly, as stunned Li Shay and Alice looked their betrothal smugly transform normal school mornings. Augur smiled assuredly nearby elegant corridors, unknowingly attracting growing concentration from a figure watching his composed demeanor wordlessly everywhere the school. Another girl respected Augur's refined actions animatedly, blushing heavily as picturing affectionate possibilities encircling his strange generosity. Schulte Satya presented personally smugly as covertly leading Augur's unofficial fan club nearby multiple loyal learners, supporting his rising distinction. She described their group avoided public concentration attentively since relatives favored guarding Augur peacefully lacking creating needless school disturbances. Learners respected Augur greatly since his recent match displayed dominating determination, triggering numerous girls throughout school campus. Growing fascinated straight away, Schulte assembled fan club relatives wearing disguises, reminding everybody supporting Augur needed silence, discipline, caution, and shunning troublesome questionable demeanor. Augur spotted peculiar actions encircling him abruptly, turning backward cautiously as feeling puzzled concerning enigmatic followers watching him wordlessly nearby. Nearby Alice, Augur sensed unfamiliar concentration abruptly, then recognized Reyna waiting solo nearby tables greeting him brightly politely outdoors. Reyna welcomed Augur assuredly amid breakfast, but his anxious countenance exposed powerful suspicion concerning her surprising friendly demeanor towards him. Reyna asked for casual discussion earlier classes began, triggering Augur uncertainty since their association beforehand contained little private interaction among them. Alice courteously separated Augur from Li Shay and Karen, allowing Reyna personal discussion opportunities as schoolmates left wordlessly lacking objections throughout grounds. Reyna eventually described her objective straight, inviting Augur into scholar committee membership, as sharing tea peacefully nearby mystical textbooks outdoors. Reina smiled warmly as insisting Augur eventually enter scholar committee, though his drained reaction displayed frustration towards persistent recruitment attempts. Augur understood Reina advanced, to him triggering rising anxiety since her fierce concentration resembled hazardous hunters, seeking defenseless unsuspecting prey. Reina served black tea peacefully throughout courtyard tables as Augur persisted cautious, doubting secret motives beneath her surprisingly generous hospitality gesture. Augur tasted Reina's tea attentively, growing genuinely stunned since its refined flavor exceeded anticipations formed from normal school refreshments. He commended Reina's impressive brewing capabilities inwardly, yet declined growing subordinate, though her preceded promises preparing tea regularly for him. Reina described another committee member struggled, presuming Augur should spend extra time supporting his beloved Karen patiently, rather. She exposed scholar committee relatives handled dominating school obligations regularly, triggering exhausting workloads requiring exceptional talent judgment and continual commitment. Augur examined enormous document stacks, recognizing Reina completed administrative duties with headmaster obligations lacking requesting supporting aid from anyone. He argued learners should not manage excessive school burdens solo, but Reina peacefully insisted her capabilities solve problems efficiently regardless. Augur abruptly experienced agonizing pressure encircling his chest mysteriously, growing alarmed straight away as endeavoring understand surprising bodily discomfort. Augur recalled his past life where he assisted drained colleagues finish staying office tasks swiftly, earning grateful responses as dismissing his own exhaustion. Colleagues continuously handed extra obligations towards Augur since his dependable personality encouraged everybody relying heavily about his continual supporting. Augur heard colleagues praising his utility thoughtlessly, recognizing others prized ease better than his private welfare and wellness. Agonizing memories overcome Augur, triggering sensitive shock as recalling unbearable exhaustion formed from endless obligations and relentless anticipations beforehand. Augur thought about Reina's situation attentively, eventually comprehending excessive workloads ruined others slowly, leading him rejecting harmful working terms thoroughly. Augur spotted dark circles underneath Reina's eyes abruptly. Recognizing scholar committee shortages forced her enduring exhausting obligations continuously. He wordlessly decided Reina recruited him from desperation, rather fondness, then straightaway left courtyard tables as hiding sophisticated private emotions. Reina looked Augur depart, presuming his concern concerning her state exposed genuine generosity secret underneath his guarded personality. She laughed secretly as misunderstanding Augur's observations thoroughly, assuming he pitied imaginary eye bags though her effortlessly flawless semblance. Rather, Schulte and secret supporters respected Augur energetically once, more praising his elegant tea preparation skills as covertly watching events from encircling tables. Schulte heard Reina recruiting Augur covertly, then developed overcome viewing him adjust another scholar's crooked ribbon. She collapsed dramatically from thrill since Augur's casual generosity matched perfectly with fantasies formed within her devoted imagination. Augur gave back towards classroom corridors where Karen and Li Shay welcomed him warmly as addressing scholar committee affairs collectively. Karen described scholar committee obligations as Augur dismissed recruitment discussions, triggering Alice and Li Shay to peacefully observe the whole thing attentively. Reina carried immense paperwork stacks solo as Karen described exhausting committee duties, uncovering severe workload problems within administration operations. Overall, Karen animatedly imagined spending whole school days nearby Augur via scholar committee membership, dismissing his immediate rejection thoroughly amid discussions. Li Che straightaway supported Karen's proposal since joining scholar committee promised extra opportunities nearby Augur, though surprising recruitment situations for everybody. Augur looked Karen and Li Che celebrate energetically, recognizing scholar committee recruitment accidentally transformed into another troublesome misunderstanding encircling personally thoroughly. Karen and Li Shay pleaded Augur joining scholar committee collectively, presuming shared undertakings nearby him would strengthen their rising relationships. Augur refused their invitation straight away, describing hazardous workloads ruined private freedom, as Karen and Li Shay responded with absolute shock. He criticized scholar committee management harshly, comparing exhausting obligations towards cruel workplaces as multiple learners peacefully heard his complaints nearby. Floan abruptly advanced to Augur politely, astonishing encircling learners as requesting a personal discussion concerning significant affairs within school administration. Augur followed Floan reluctantly towards an empty classroom, doubting another troublesome discussion connected straight towards Reina and scholar committee affairs. Floan invited Augur into a personal library as Karen, Alice, and Li Shay readied departing attentively earlier, abruptly receiving surprising permission. She asked for Augur joining scholar committee straight as he persisted cautious, doubting deception beneath her unusually calm and persuasive demeanor. Floan commended Auger's capabilities and promised proper rewards, presuming his aristocratic distinction perfectly matched significant scholar committee obligations. Auger furiously compared Floan's aggressive recruitment tactics towards exploitative employers, openly offending her persistence as remembering frustrating events from earlier. Auger protected Reina's exhausting workload solemnly, insisting Floan provide greater freedom towards scholar committee leadership, rather of excessive administrative pressure. Karen, Li Shay, and Floan responded with surprise, following Auger abruptly spoke solemnly concerning Reina's unhealthy commitment towards exhausting obligations. Auger described Reina followed orders mechanically as slowly losing individuality, comparing her state towards an emotionless doll controlled thoroughly externally. Floan heard wordlessly nearby Auger, appearing shaken following acknowledging agonizing similarities among Reina's situation and events from her earlier life. Auger mocked Floan assuredly earlier departing politely, triggering her countenance changing drastically as his sharp criticism persisted greatly unforgettable thereafter. Karen and Liche alarmed outdoors uneasily, presuming Auger offended the headmaster terribly as stunned silence filled encircling school hallways thoroughly. Karen and Liche commended Auger animatedly, admiring his fearless criticism towards Floan as growing increasingly fascinated by his confident personality. Auger acted peacefully earlier everybody, pretending his altercation persisted insignificant as Karen and Liche respected him energetically from beneath. He straightaway exposed genuine fear secretly, sweating heavily as recalling Floan's terrifying reaction amid their uncomfortable discussion. Collectively, Auger imagined scholar committee presidents constantly enduring Floan's frightening pressure. Recognizing their obligations appeared distant harsher than anticipated originally everywhere school. Floan slammed her desk furiously. Stunned Auger described Reina like a doll since nobody beforehand spotted her sensitive state earlier thoroughly. Floan regained composure secretly, presuming her secret schemes persisted safe, though Auger's unsettling awareness concerning Reina's hazardous sensitive exhaustion thoroughly. Karen suggested leaving scholar committee aspirations, but Auger abruptly reconsidered the whole thing attentively as analyzing Floan's questionable demeanor and objectives wordlessly. Auger recalled Reina's extraordinary mystical capabilities, recognizing school leadership wasted her talents via excessive meaningless administrative obligations. Constantly, he surprisingly declared joining scholar committee straight away, stunning Karen thoroughly as Liche heard peacefully nearby the classroom entrance with surprise visibly. Auger covertly planned manipulating scholar committee undertakings directly, intending transforming Reina into a useful ally supporting his coming aspirations strategically. Auger announced Reina would serve underneath him, picturing coming control over scholar committee undertakings via her exceptional mystical talents. He sent Karen, Liche, and Alice off earlier, deciding confronting Reina directly concerning significant affairs concerning coming cooperation arrangements straight away. Auger advanced to Reina uneasily within her chamber, endeavoring speaking correctly as Reina heard peacefully towards his abrupt surprising visit nearby wordlessly. He bluntly asked for Reina staying overnight within his chamber, triggering immediate uncertainty since his explanation persisted thoroughly unclear towards her entirely. Reina stared speechlessly towards Auger, overcome thoroughly by his stunning proposal as numerous puzzled reflections rushed via her drained mind. Auger puzzled Reina thoroughly by requesting she remain within his chamber, triggering her questioning his peculiar objectives straight away. He swiftly challenged, personally clumsily describing scholar committee membership schemes concerning Mashiro as Reina heard attentively nearby him. Reina wondered about Auger's abrupt decision solemnly as he described mutual benefits remained via cooperation, though beforehand rejecting committee obligations entirely earlier. She thought secretly about coming changes, presuming she would eventually avoid Floan's harsh penalty and unbearable handling from authority figures permanently. Reina smiled warmly towards Auger, feeling genuine relief since somebody eventually acknowledged her struggles and offered meaningful reinforcement genuinely thereafter. Auger proceeded describing scholar committee affairs attentively, as Reina persisted puzzled concerning his peculiar request concerning staying collectively. Reina demanded clarification uneasily, but Auger repeated his request aloud once more, triggering her discomfort rising quickly from misunderstanding thoroughly. Auger shifted closer solemnly towards Reina, presuming she misinterpreted his objectives as attempting describing mutual benefits better plainly towards cooperation arrangements. Auger announced needing Reina directly for his coming schemes, departing her speechless as misunderstanding his aggressive words thoroughly. Reina uneasily agreed to Auger's request uncertainly, endeavoring processing his dominating statements as numerous humiliating beliefs filled her reflections. Reina shyly agreed to Auger's request eventually, presuming she grasped his objectives as endeavoring restraining dominating discomfort thoroughly within personally nearby, Augur appreciated Reina peacefully earlier departing assuredly, unaware his peculiar explanation formed enormous misunderstandings concerning their coming association arrangements entirely. Reina alarmed Solo straightaway, questioning abrupt occurrences continually as picturing numerous unclear possibilities concerning Augur and Scholar Committee obligations collectively. She recalled Karen Lishay and Alice addressing Augur's preferences beforehand, triggering her reflections drifting towards increasingly humiliating conclusions quickly nearby. Uneasily examined her semblance wordlessly, she wondering whether Augur's rising interest connected towards her body rather of genuine cooperation thoroughly. Reina misinterpreted Augur's objectives thoroughly, presuming his request represented affectionate interest as endeavoring restraining flustered reflections Solo wordlessly. Reina strengthened her determination solemnly, deciding fulfilling Augur's wishes thoroughly since she frantically desired staying significant towards him permanently. Augur strode assuredly via school hallways, satisfied Reina agreed to cooperation as planning executing Mashiro's earlier strategic advice straightaway. Karen organized cheerful festivities outdoors, as Alice mistakenly claimed Reina developed Augur's fiancé, triggering awkward responses from everybody present collectively. She abruptly confessed wanting greater closeness towards Lishay, astonishing her thoroughly as sensitive tensions proceeded growing among Augur's encircling associates quickly. Lishay responded shyly towards Karen's admission, as distant schoolmates looked curiously, triggering surprising affectionate strains circulating peacefully. Alice energetically presented an extravagant bonding activity, saying aristocrats and commoners alike would enjoy participating collectively energetically amid festivities. Augur gave back assuredly towards his dormitory, planning employing Alice's suggested gathering attentively for strengthening connections with Reina directly via deception tactics. Later, Reina strode uneasily via school corridors solo, attempting calming personally earlier gathering Augur as dominating discomfort proceeded consuming her reflections. She reached wearing uncovering sleepwear uneasily, presuming Augur anticipated intimate objectives as compelling personally continuing towards his chamber though dominating hesitation. Reina worried uneasily concerning her semblance, presuming Augur would reject her straightaway once discovering her bodily insecurities. She recalled Flone's frightening demeanor sadly, wondering whether Augur could genuinely defend her from agonizing handling and deception permanently someday somehow. Tried leaving hopeful fantasies thoroughly. Reina convincing personally returning home persisted safer than trusting impossible affectionate anticipations concerning Augur anymore. Reina abruptly heard peculiar voices beneath Augur's door, triggering immediate uncertainty as questionable reflections quickly interrupted her earlier sensitive determination. She accidentally heard awkward noise, imagined Augur did something with Karen, Leech, and Alice collectively, departing her stunned as misunderstanding the whole thing straight away. Reina persisted, imagined via the doorway, misunderstanding Augur's playful bathing interactions with Karen, Leech, and Alice thoroughly within that chamber promptly. She frozen outdoors uneasily as peculiar voices proceeded echoing aloud, convincing her intimate undertakings had formerly begun within the chamber thoroughly. Alarmed sentimentally and imagined forbidden festivities occurring beneath closed doors, Reina presuming Augur's hazardous party eventually began lacking restraint within nearby. Reina misinterpreted Augur's request thoroughly, picturing inappropriate relationships concerning Karen and Lishay as panicking concerning Scholar Committee obligations. She rushed via hallways frantically, deciding she must warn everybody correctly earlier misunderstandings encircling Augur formed larger problems throughout school dormitories. They spotted Reina abruptly appearing animatedly, growing curious concerning her strange demeanor as colorful decorations filled encircling corridors thoroughly throughout. Reina ceased moving straight away, puzzled thoroughly following discovering surprising arrangements and peculiar responses waiting straight within the decorated chamber formally. Karen and Lishay welcomed Reina brightly amid pajama gathering festivities, uncovering Augur's request actually involved harmless Scholar Committee bonding undertakings. Augur and Alice welcomed everybody warmly into the pajama gathering, preparing snacks and drinks as Reina stepped into cautiously. Reina learned noisy festivities attracted many learners surprisingly, triggering uncertainty as Augur peacefully described harmless party undertakings. Augur described Scholar Committee relatives should strengthen relationships collectively, rendering Reina abruptly realize his earlier request carried innocent objectives thoroughly. Rather, Reina said, sorry inwardly for misunderstanding Augur's motives beforehand, feeling flustered as acknowledging the gathering persisted wholesome and socially beneficial entirely everywhere. Lishay appreciated Reina genuinely for joining undertakings gladly, as Reina appreciated Augur's decision supporting normal learners within Scholar Committee operations equally. Lishay gladly encouraged everybody enjoying pajama gathering undertakings collectively, creating cheerful atmosphere as learners relaxed comfortably within Augur's chamber. Reina slowly relaxed nearby Lishay, appreciating peaceful discussions since normal social events rarely emerged within her exhausting regularly obligations. She wondered about Karen concerning decorative accessories, learning Augur beforehand gifted precious items towards Scholar Committee relatives directly earlier this gathering. Liche smugly displayed a esteemed Vellet household cloth, exciting everybody as Karen respected Augur's generosity towards others, supporting him loyally throughout. Karen described Alice's maid outfit came from Augur's private orders, triggering and circling girls praising his thoughtful handling towards associates energetically collectively. Karen discussed Alice's strange maid uniform brightly, as Reina heard curiously, and other learners responded with surprised amusement. Augur witnessed everybody bonding successfully amid pajama gathering undertakings, smugly presuming his careful planning improved Reina's social relationship significantly. Liche abruptly wondered about Scholar Committee obligations solemnly, triggering discussion atmosphere changing straight away as everybody focused towards Augur's explanation. Augur described Scholar Committee recruitment related straight towards future school magic tournament concerning significant representatives from every mystical school nationwide collectively. Learners learned esteemed academies would send 3-member teams into enormous mystical tournament, raising thrill and strain everywhere. The gathering promptly thoroughly. Augur wondered about Reina concerning earlier school competitions attentively as Karen smugly described Reina's dominating performance amid earlier mystical tournaments. Reina admitted suffering defeat though, fighting solo courageously, uncovering extraordinary capabilities stunned onlookers and school representatives greatly amid tournament. She described lacking trustworthy teammates prevented triumph beforehand, triggering everybody recognizing Scholar Committee frantically required stronger relatives straight away for tournaments. Karen commended Liche energetically, describing her uncommon double magic capabilities employing each wind and ice methods effectively opposing competitors throughout. She assuredly described Augur's deceptive fight strategies, presuming his unpredictable tactics could even overwhelm Monarch Arnia amid hazardous mystical confrontations someday. Augur eventually grasped Floan's persistent recruitment attempts connected straight towards strengthening school representatives for future mystical tournament competitions nationwide. Reina formally invited Augur and Liche joining her tournament team, hoping their combined capabilities could secure school triumphs successfully collectively. Karen and Alice straightaway understood Reina's real objectives, comprehending Scholar Committee recruitment focus thoroughly nearby assembling mighty mystical teammates strategically. Collectively, Liche agreed to energetically since challenging mighty competitors excited her greatly as Augur approved Reina's honesty concerning tournament reasons straight away thereafter. Augur developed motivated towards proving his capabilities outwardly via tournament, triggering Reina recognizing his aspirations exceeded normal scholar anticipations thoroughly. Augur, Reina, and Liche formally registered collectively for school magic tournament, forming determined team as Karen and Alice praised animatedly gladly within dormitory. The school structure remained peacefully underneath night skies, marking beginning of fierce arrangements earlier hazardous tournament, battles opposing rival schools throughout kingdom. Karen and Liche slept peacefully collectively as Augur and Reina looked peacefully, asking Alice preparing extra blankets. Reina spotted Augur's strange silence and wondered about his state attentively as he clumsily inquired whether she felt drained recently directly. Augur asked for informal names among them, calling Reina straight as building her leaving strict respectful distance thoroughly from now onward. Reina straightaway leaned opposing Augur comfortably within bed, stunning him thoroughly as her drained body relaxed effortlessly nearby him peacefully. Augur persisted frozen underneath Reina's embrace, wondering whether drained companionship and bodily closeness formed healthy sensitive recovery methods collectively accidentally. Augur struggled restraining inappropriate reflections as reminding personally Reina required sensitive reinforcement rather of selfish private distractions thoroughly. Reina commended Augur's generosity, genuinely recalling his earlier deeds helping many others earlier confessing she carried unresolved private guilt covertly. Personally, said, sorry clumsily nearby Augur. Reina describing her strange bodily responses were artificial since her body functioned differently from normal learners effortlessly. She confessed manipulating Augur's generosity intentionally, presuming uncovering her secret state would determine whether he genuinely agreed to her thoroughly thereafter. Reina uneasily readied exposing her deepest secret towards Augur, dreading rejection as waiting peacefully nearby him within the bedroom wordlessly. Augur responded with absolute panic following Reina, abruptly readied uncovering her secret straight earlier him. Reina exposed personally uneasily as Augur deserted hesitation straight away, deciding honestly accepting her admission lacking needless judgment thoroughly nearby. Augur and Reina stared wordlessly towards each other closely, overcome by anxious strain as emotions intensified quickly among them surprisingly nearby. Powerful wind abruptly burst via open windows brutally, interrupting their intimate moment as Reina hurried guarding personally from discomfort straight away. The loud disturbance woke Karen and Lishay promptly, triggering puzzled panic as each girl wondered what happened within Auger's chamber abruptly. Karen and Lishay stepped into abruptly following, hearing crashing noises as Reina hurried cleaning broken decorations nearby, flustered Auger wordlessly. Auger admitted selfish disappointment secretly, uncovering curiosity towards Reina's breasts as Karen and Lishay misinterpreted his frustrated, sensitive reaction. Reina borrowed Alice's bathroom uneasily earlier, departing peacefully, triggering Auger questioning whether her peculiar demeanor hid deeper private problems inwardly. Stared towards personally wordlessly within bathroom, Reina recalling her unfinished admission as endeavoring deciding whether uncovering the whole thing thoroughly persisted worthwhile sentimentally. She doubted Auger's acceptance greatly, dreading her secret truth would destroy their rising connection though. His generosity towards her thoroughly. Youthful Reina ran via burning streets frantically searching for her parents as destruction surrounded terrified civilians. Floan captured Reina forcefully and dragged her off wordlessly, dismissing terrified resistance amid the terrifying disaster thoroughly nearby her. Reina endured agonizing experiments nearby deserted youngsters as adults continually wondered about her utility and treated failures like disposable garbage every day. Researchers proceeded testing Reina brutally, praising her endurance as terrified youngsters screamed everywhere. The facility thoroughly, and endless suffering consumed everybody nearby. Auger and the girls traveled towards Lamdarv Kingdom, preparing school tournament participation as watching tropical scenery encircling the distant southern nation by ship. Auger reached with Reina, Karen, Alice, and Lishay, viewing associates celebrate energetically as exploring Lamdarv Kingdom's packed coastline amid vacation. Karen appreciated Auger for transportation supporting. Aid then animatedly guided everybody via tropical attractions as flaunting fashionable vacation clothing nearby him. Reina, Alice, Lishay, and Karen assembled nearby palm trees gladly, posing assuredly earlier, rushing animatedly towards the bright ocean collectively. Auger alarmed following noticing uncovering swimsuits and Alice's weapon, wordlessly questioning everyone's strange demeanor amid their seaside vacation at Lamdarv. Auger looked Karen and Reina playing thoughtlessly, growing distracted by humiliating swimsuit accidents as wordlessly questioning their shameless assurance composure. He encouraged everybody towards ocean undertakings, pretending calmness as Reina and Karen gladly splashed water throughout shoreline nearby him. Peacefully, Reina teased Auger employing oversized clothing, triggering him greater uncertainty as he promised triumph amid the school tournament opposing her. Karen played animatedly nearby Reina as Auger covertly planned tournament strategies and considered methods for gaining Reina's acknowledgement via prowess. Auger erased humiliating memories straight away, glaring furiously from shallow water as he avoided answering her complaints straight thoroughly. Reina advanced, to resting Auger solemnly addressing tournament concerns as Lishay collapsed dramatically from fierce tropical heat nearby them miserably. Lishay struggled sadly opposing scorching weather terms, uncovering weaknesses common among ice element mages, visiting Lamdarv Kingdom amid summer vacation periods. Reina readied cold Lamdarv tea attentively, offering refreshing drinks as advising everybody concerning hydration and proper protection, opposing hazardous tropical temperatures. Auger commended Reina's tea energetically, learning concerning Lamdarv traditions as Reina exposed the southern kingdom persisted her original birthplace. Surprisingly, Lishay heard Reina's explanation wordlessly, growing puzzled concerning Reina's household background as Auger peacefully considered the surprising private information exposed. Lishay recovered energetically following drinking Reina's tea, declaring fierce practice schemes as Reina worried peacefully concerning hazardous overexertion nearby everybody. She promised impressive tournament results assuredly, showing thanks towards Auger as smugly showing determination via intense encouragement. Reina appreciated Lishay politely as viewing Karen sprint animatedly towards ocean undertakings nearby Auger and Alice throughout sandy beaches collectively. Reina stared wordlessly towards a volleyball resting nearby, appearing thoughtful as considering competitive possibilities, opposing everybody assembled nearby the shoreline attentively. Alice, Reina, Karen, Lishay, and Auger organized teams assuredly, preparing in fierce beach volleyball challenge opposing mighty competitors nearby crashing waves. Auger described volleyball training casually, but Alice assaulted forcefully straight away, stunning everybody as mighty spikes. Alice dominated the match solemnly, compelling teammates into panic as Reina peacefully looked the dominating tournament unfold nearby sandy shoreline. Onlookers, Auger deserted casual training objectives, rushing ahead competitively as teammates wondered about his abrupt determination amid fierce volleyball exchanges opposing Alice. Auger and Alice confronted each other fiercely, shouting assuredly as each sides battled passionately throughout the heated beach volleyball match collectively. The volleyball match ceased briefly when unfamiliar men advanced, to abruptly interrupting tournament as everybody pivoted concentration towards surprising newcomers. A brutal volleyball strike launched a rash newcomer throughout sand brutally, interrupting training as stunned onlookers looked the chaotic accident unfold. Augur recognized the wounded stranger as Alaban, as Alice, Reina, Karen, and Li Shay stared uneasily at the surprising reunion nearby them. Reina wondered about Alaban's persona peacefully as Augur heard attentively following hearing the unfamiliar man call him respected superior smugly. Alaban commended Augur energetically, describing recent criminal hunts as Augur casually redirected him towards another hazardous tourist district straight away. He exposed questionable doping distribution throughout Lamdarv, warning Augur concerning secret criminal activity connected towards secret operations within the kingdom. Alaban warned concerning secret danger within Lamdarv maybe involve Flown, as Reina heard wordlessly, recognizing questionable undertakings threatened everybody. Learners assembled within tournament accommodations as school representatives reached steadily, preparing themselves attentively earlier the vast magic tournament began. Augur wounded personally accidentally earlier the tournament, departing Alice highly worried as he struggled sadly within their brief accommodation chamber. Alice blamed personally for Augur's injuries, though he peacefully appreciated her deeds and reconsidered defensive strategies earlier tournament matches started. Augur examined possible dangers attentively, acknowledging Alice's dominating prowess as preparing countermeasures opposing grave mystical assaults from rival learners strategically. Li Che animatedly presented Karen to Augur within their chamber, astonishing him thoroughly as Karen responded uneasily towards their abrupt surprising gathering. Karen examined Augur's wounded arm attentively, describing her healing capabilities as Alice looked peacefully nearby them. Within accommodations peacefully, Karen activated healing magic smoothly throughout Augur's arm, astonishing him straight away as mystical energy surrounded their chamber brightly. Augur appreciated Karen genuinely following recovery, though Karen redirected appreciation towards Li Shay as Alice praised the effective healing animatedly. Li Shay argued frantically with reception workers, insisting immediate medical supporting it as restricted staff declined entry though hearing injury explanations. Multiple men confronted Li Shay harshly, ridiculing her household background openly as introducing themselves arrogantly amid their uncomfortable discussion within restricted areas. Li Shay protected Augur, firmly opposing insults, accepting criticism towards personally as refusing thoroughly to tolerate disrespect directed towards him outwardly. Ignored warnings straight away, Li Shay rushing solo into restricted areas as encircling learners looked wordlessly and guards responded with absolute uncertainty. Karen felt flustered recalling Li Shay's brave words, as Augur understood her personality had changed significantly compared with earlier impressions thoroughly. Augur heard peacefully as Karen commended Li Shay's private growth, describing her former timid demeanor nearby aristocratic learners from esteemed families. Karen appreciated Li Shay genuinely for supporting them sentimentally. As Li Shay thought sadly concerning discrimination aristocrats proceeded showing towards commoners throughout. Augur encouraged Li Shay assuredly earlier the tournament, as each announced their prowess smugly towards competitors viewing the tournament arrangements. Reina witnessed participants entering tournament facilities wordlessly, as confirming Augur and Li Shay formally joined the hazardous mystical tournament successfully. Reina replied politely as Flown warned her attentively, describing excessive praise could create grave complications amid significant coming obligations later. Flown announced objectives to obtain double-caster Li Shay, uncovering ambitious schemes connected towards the Lamdarv kingdom covertly thereafter. She pressured Reina peacefully concerning secret obligations, triggering Reina visible discomfort as staying silent amid their tense personal discussion. Flown wondered about Reina suspiciously, noticing sensitive attachment towards Li Shay as Reina hesitated uneasily amid their uncomfortable personal discussion. Reina alarmed inwardly following Flown's accusations, as Li Shay's cheerful response emerged vividly within her conflicted sensitive reflections surprisingly. Flown confronted Reina straight once, more insisting absolute comprehending as Reina responded with visible shock and rising anxiety towards hazardous implications. She threatened Reina brutally with endless suffering, warning betrayal would result in unbearable torment via every method and knowledge held directly. Flown demonstrated terrifying mystical power earlier Reina, compelling fearful obedience, as reminding her thoroughly concerning unbearable pain experienced beforehand under penalty. Reina fled the frightening altercation, breathing heavily outdoors the structure as endeavoring sentimentally from Flown's terrifying warnings and pressure. Cried uncontrollably solo, Reina recalling Flown's vicious warnings as fear and sensitive pain overcome her thoroughly nearby empty walkways. Reina forced personally ahead sentimentally, repeating private duties constantly as convincing personally grinning persisted necessary, regardless of agonizing situations suffered. Augur and Li Shay stood within tournament halls peacefully, addressing bracket selections as noticing Reina arriving later than anticipated for arrangements nearby. Reina advanced to wordlessly earlier Augur and Li Shay, hiding sensitive suffering attentively as maintaining an unreadable countenance underneath lowered eyes thoroughly. Reina forced personally grinning once, more assuring everybody concerning her utility as hiding sensitive instability triggered by Floan's frightening deception. Augur wondered about Reina casually concerning Headmaster Floan as Li Shay animatedly learned of nearby food, interrupting their grave discussion thoroughly. He criticized Reina's unhealthy routine straight away, compelling food towards her as worrying constantly concerning exhaustion triggered via excessive obligations and overwork. Reina peacefully joined the gathering as representatives from every school assembled collectively, preparing themselves. Earlier tournament events formally began within halls. Shelba Ansem presented personally, dramatically assuredly, straightaway irritating Augur via loud demeanor and exaggerated self-significant personality traits displayed. Shelba mocked Reina arrogantly earlier everybody aloud, as Augur developed irritated straightaway and anticipated Reina to respond opposing his demeanor. Reina and Augur remained collectively wordlessly thereafter, uncovering mutual dislike plainly as addressing private emotions concerning each other's unpleasant personalities openly. Reina suffered Shelba's ridiculous complaints concerning earlier tournament failures as listening wordlessly nearby Augur amid school gathering discussions among aristocrats. Augur learned Shelba frantically desired Professor Floan's recognition, though continual rejection slowly transformed him into an irritating loudspeaker for everybody. Reina described Shelba's demeanor peacefully as Augur ignored the noise, focusing rather about tournament opportunities, proving private capabilities to Floan. Shelba recognized Augur straight away, mentioning the disgraced Vellet household history, as Augur replied coldly, lacking showing sensitive responses whatsoever outwardly. He insulted Reina harshly earlier, noticing her hazardous countenance, triggering silence among them as Augur witnessed the altercation attentively. Tournament officials assembled school representatives collectively, announcing tournament procedures as learners readied uneasily for future mystical battles among esteemed schools nationwide. Reina peacefully excused personally from Augur, departing him viewing peacefully as school participants proceeded gathering nearby decorated tables. Representatives selected numbered lots attentively as encircling learners witnessed wordlessly, waiting uneasily for tournament matchups determining school rivalries and reputations. Tournament results exposed Mrs. School facing Lichberg School straight away, triggering surprise among participants as Reina said, sorry clumsily towards Augur. Shelba praised another coming triumph aloud nearby Augur, as Reina replied politely and proceeded anticipating the future tournament altercation. Confronted Reina secretly, Shelba saying she constantly acted superior as watching him peacefully amid tense discussions earlier tournament arrangements started. Reina denied Shelba's accusations peacefully, though Shelba proceeded laughing arrogantly and announced her assurance would collapse amid future matches thoroughly. Shelba insulted Reina more nearby Augur, calling her worthless as abrupt mystical pressure spread heavily throughout the encircling atmosphere straight away. Reina eventually failed patience, warning Shelba firmly as hazardous energy surrounded her body and stunned nearby learners watching wordlessly nearby. She coldly called Shelba annoying, compelling him retreat uneasily as endangering coming defeat earlier, escaping the dominating mystical pressure thoroughly. Augur laughed softly as praising Reina's honest emotions, astonishing her since she rarely exposed private emotions openly. Reina appreciated Augur uneasily thereafter, questioning her demeanor secretly, as viewing him continue drinking tea, lacking noticing her discomfort. Augur appreciated Reina defending him earlier, triggering her countenance freeze promptly as surprising emotions overcome her reflections and composure thoroughly abruptly. Reina understood Augur had become greatly significant sentimentally, interpreting his generosity genuinely as picturing closer emotions growing effortlessly among them peacefully. She advanced to Augur assuredly, though misunderstanding his objectives thoroughly, departing Augur puzzled as secret affectionate strain proceeded rising clumsily among them. Augur carried sleeping Li Shay casually as telling Reina he desired friendship among them, departing Reina peacefully watching his strange demeanor. Reina agreed to Augur's words solemnly, guaranteeing prove personally worthy earlier mentioning tomorrow's match, and departing him slightly puzzled. Vast crowds assembled within the enormous stadium as tournament arrangements completed and mystical barriers surrounded the battleground securely. Earlier matches started. Learners cheered aloud for Mrs. and Lichberg representatives, as Augur's supporters encouraged him animatedly earlier the significant opening altercation. Tournament announcers presented a mighty team employing lightning and fire magic as competitors stepped into the battleground preparing grave battles straight away collectively. Shelba assuredly led Misosona school representatives towards the battleground as Reina and Mashiro followed beneath preparing themselves solemnly for battle. Augur stepped into nearby Li Shay and Karen smugly, representing Lichberg School as announcers commended their enigmatic prowess and remarkable secret potential. Reina and Shelba stepped into the stadium assuredly as onlookers witnessed each school representatives preparing themselves attentively for tournament. Reina and Shelba exchanged respectful handshakes earlier their match, guaranteeing honorable tournament though. Strain encircling each academies present within arenas, Shelba mocked Reina's partnership openly, offending her teammate harshly as declaring their inevitable defeat earlier encircling onlookers allowed lacking restraint. Reina responded peacefully towards Shelba's insults, pretending uncertainty as compelling him repeat his humiliating statements. Earlier everybody viewing within wordlessly. She admitted hearing Shelba's warning plainly, uncovering secret assurance as implying his coming regret would eventually become unavoidable amid tournament. Reina assuredly supported Augur and Lishe outwardly, declaring their teamwork reliable as Shelba wondered about her strange trust towards each associates. Shelba witnessed Augur and Lishe attentively, growing puzzled following witnessing their determined attitudes, the widespread criticism encircling their reputations throughout. Lishe stumbled clumsily earlier onlookers, triggering others doubt her capabilities as she uneasily denied rendering any grave mistake outwardly nearby. Learners mocked Lishe's clumsiness straight away, blaming her unfairly as Shelba developed increasingly stunned viewing her humiliating demeanor amid arrangements closely. Augur spotted hostile opinions circulating via stadium crowds, recognizing many aristocrats distrusted his household and suspected secret deception schemes constantly. Shelba learned Augur lacked mystical aptitude thoroughly, triggering uncertainty since participating within hazardous mystical battles appeared thoroughly unreasonable outwardly. He laughed assuredly nearby teammates, convincing personally his worries were unwise as underestimating Augur's strange assurance and planning capabilities entirely. Shelba allowed announced guaranteed triumph as Malka and Borden readied themselves impatiently. Earlier onlookers looked the approaching fight attentively collectively. The match formally began as Augur peacefully directed Reina and Lishe, according beforehand discussed strategies opposing school representatives straightaway nearby. Augur examined Misazona's predictable tactics swiftly, identifying coordinated thunder assaults supporting Shelba's finishing. Fire magic opposing enemy formations amid battle. Shelba ordered teammates target Lishe and Augur first as guaranteeing directly restrain Reina amid the hazardous school fight straight away. Lishe countered incoming thunder assaults gracefully, astonishing competitors as concealing her real elemental capabilities beneath misleading wind magic appearances cleverly. Abruptly Lishe unleashed mighty frost magic, freezing encircling assaults promptly as stunned onlookers understood her exceptional mystical talent thoroughly nearby. Crowds commended Lishe's uncommon double-element casting capabilities aloud as she assuredly entrusted staying battle obligations towards Augur peacefully thereafter nearby. Shelba responded with absolute disbelief following witnessing Lishe, his dominating capabilities, recognizing earlier beliefs concerning her weakness were entirely mistaken outwardly. Borden failed control amid fight, crashing brutally towards stadium ground as frozen injuries prevented proper movement thoroughly amid battle. Augur abruptly caught Malka attentively earlier impact, preventing grave injuries as she alarmed from the surprising saving amid fight proceedings. Malka developed stunned following Augur protected her kindly, endeavoring understand why an opposing participant would saving enemies amid hazardous tournament events. Augur accidentally affected Malka sentimentally, triggering peculiar responses as onlookers misinterpreted events and announced her thoroughly beaten straightaway thereafter nearby. He beaten Borden effortlessly thereafter, stepping throughout his unconscious body peacefully as warning competitors opposing rash overexertion amid matches outwardly. Shelba persisted Misazona's final contestant as onlookers commended Augur and Lisburg School for eliminating opposing teammates successfully, assaulted Augur angrily. Shelba recognizing Augur battled effectively lacking magic as Reina peacefully wondered about Shelba's inability restraining him correctly nearby. Reina abruptly trapped Shelba employing lightning magic creatively, uncovering advanced methods as stunning onlookers with her dominating mystical control outwardly. Shelba struggled frantically opposing Reina's lightning whip attack as commentators commended her extraordinary discipline and flexible mystical capabilities everywhere. Battle nearby, Reina threatened Shelba teasingly as maintaining hazardous pressure, triggering terrified onlookers admire her terrifying prowess and beautiful semblance simultaneously nearby. Shelba launched mighty fire assaults frantically as Reina persisted calm, effortlessly enduring his aggressive magic lacking showing concern. Reina countered Shelba's flames straight employing lightning magic, creating brutal mystical collisions throughout the stadium battleground continuously amid battle. Enormous explosions erupted everywhere, stadium campus as commentators declared each contestant successfully matching each other's destructive elemental magic assault simultaneously. Shelba commended Reina's impressive capabilities assuredly, acknowledging her extraordinary practice as Augur and Lishe witnessed their hazardous altercation attentively collectively. He arrogantly threatened Reina's whole team, declaring secret prowess persisted unused as guaranteeing dominating destruction opposing every opponent present nearby. Reina admitted Augur and Li Shay developed precious associates, triggering her determination strengthen as confronting Shelba amid the hazardous fight. Reina warned Shelba opposing offending teammates as Augur peacefully closed his eyes, unclear competitors watching his relaxed demeanor. Shelba released dominating mystical pressure abruptly, preparing personally solemnly as dark energy spread dangerously everywhere. The stadium battleground quickly activated immense flame magic circles forcefully, Shelba attempting eliminate Augur and Reina straight away earlier they could react opposing his offensive. Onlookers alarmed promptly following witnessing Shelba's destructive spell preparation. Recognizing the approaching mystical attack threatened everybody viewing nearby dangerously. Augur stepped straight earlier Shelba's enormous attack peacefully, triggering puzzled officials frantically order him escape from immediate danger straight away. Augur activated enigmatic capabilities abruptly, seeking Shelba's mystical source straight as assuredly uncovering secret power earlier stunned onlookers outwardly. Shelba's immense flame attack collapsed promptly, departing him thoroughly puzzled as mystical energy scattered uselessly everywhere stadium campus throughout. He alarmed following recognizing his mystical power disappeared entirely, losing composure as Augur's peculiar method overcome him thoroughly amid fight. Leech completed the fight employing mighty frost magic, neutralizing Shelba's staying flames and securing decisive triumph for Lisburg School. Lisburg School secured absolute triumph smugly as Augur, Reina, and Li Shay remained collectively earlier cheering onlookers everywhere, the enormous stadium. Shelba understood Augur's enigmatic ability, neutralized magic straight, comprehending Li Shay solo could never extinguish his flames thoroughly amid fight. Shelba furiously blamed Augur thereafter, acknowledging his defeat resulted entirely from Augur's interference, rather than normal mystical battle capabilities. An enigmatic hooded figure advanced to Shelba covertly, offering extraordinary power as exploiting frustrations triggered by humiliating defeat outwardly nearby. Shelba agreed to the questionable proposal thoughtlessly, deciding revenge opposing Augur mattered better than concerns concerning hazardous secret organizations operating covertly. The hooded figure injected Shelba, triggering fierce pain as peculiar energy spread quickly via his weakened, drained body thoroughly. Shelba screamed uncontrollably underneath the dark forest night as the enigmatic figure witnessed wordlessly, waiting for transformation results. Patiently, learners assembled within tournament lodging halls, praising Li Shay and Reina energetically as reporters asked for interviews concerning their extraordinary fight performance. Li Shay developed overcome by encircling concentration as Reina peacefully wondered about her capabilities and practice nearby wordlessly watching Augur. Onlookers discussed Augur's devastating kick animatedly as he peacefully rested solo, drained from participating everywhere the difficult mystical tournament. Li Shay collapsed nearby Augur tiredly, confessing absolute exhaustion as Augur described he simply desired peaceful rest after fierce battle undertakings. Reina readied special tea leaves attentively, describing their relaxing effects as encircling learners eagerly asked for brewing lessons from her. Learners sampled Reina's special tea uneasily, straightaway reacting badly as Augur persisted calm watching everybody's exaggerated miserable expressions. Reina described brewing problems solemnly as Augur spotted her tea held a thoroughly different scent from normal arrangement served beforehand. Reina permitted Augur smell her hand closely, growing startled as he attentively examined the strange fragrance encircling her skin wordlessly. Augur peacefully complimented Reina's pleasant scent, triggering her face become thoroughly red from surprising discomfort amid their personal interaction. Karen, Li Shay, Alice wordlessly witnessed as Augur kissed Reina's hand, reacting cautiously as strain spread everywhere the quiet resting chamber. Karen wondered about Augur's association with Reina jokingly as Alice sensed strange strain encircling everybody assembled peacefully. Reina laughed gladly nearby Augur and others, enjoying their discussions as schoolmates developed surprise witnessing her unusually cheerful demeanor. Li Shay expressed thanks towards Augur's group genuinely, describing their generosity and reinforcement made her feel genuinely agreed to among associates. Enigmatic hooded figure abruptly emerged outdoors nearby windows, interrupting peaceful discussions as apologizing strangely towards everybody assembled within. They responded with absolute shock straight away, rushing to investigate the hooded intruder as uncertainty spread quickly throughout tournament lodging halls throughout. The hooded intruder activated hazardous magic abruptly, alarming encircling learners as enigmatic energy spread forcefully everywhere tournament lodging halls. Explosive flames burst brutally throughout packed rooms, compelling learners panic straight away as nearby furniture endured weighty damage from mystical assaults. Augur witnessed the peculiar intruder attentively growing questionable as the hooded figure groaned sadly underneath unstable mystical pressure. Teachers ordered immediate evacuation swiftly, doubting forbidden enhancement drugs triggered the intruder's brutal state and uncontrollable mystical demeanor thoroughly. The enigmatic attacker charged straight towards Auger's group forcefully as encircling learners looked the hazardous altercation uneasily from safe afar. Auger understood his capabilities persisted unusable indoors as the hooded attacker deliberately targeted packed rooms filled with defenseless learners. Alice responded promptly nearby Auger, drawing her weapon assuredly as preparing personally defend everybody opposing the hazardous intruder. Charged forcefully towards the hooded attacker, Alice shunning incoming mystical projectiles skillfully as closing distance via direct bodily movement. She struck the intruder powerfully, employing close battle assaults, compelling the hooded figure lose balance amid brutal altercation within tournament lodging. The hooded attacker screamed sadly following Alice's effective strike landed straight, triggering dark fluids scatter throughout damaged clothing brutally. Alice threatened the hooded intruder straight, insisting answers as guarding Auger opposing possible assassination attempts within packed tournament lodging halls. She cornered the weakened attacker successfully as terrified learners witnessed cautiously from distant hallways everywhere the damaged structure. The hooded intruder abruptly released smoke explosives surprisingly, creating uncertainty as preparing an immediate escape from Alice's relentless pursuit. Alice tried chasing the escaping attacker forcefully but failed, apologizing towards Auger as smoke covered encircling rooms heavily thoroughly. Auger wondered about the intruder's real objectives solemnly, doubting the enigmatic attack specifically targeted him rather than encircling learners straight. Tournament organizers postponed scheduled matches temporarily as wounded contestants obtained handling after the destructive masked intruder attack. Yesterday thoroughly, officials asked for cooperation from Lisburg school learners, describing investigation committees required supporting it identifying the hazardous masked attacker straight away urgently. Organizers commended Auger's proven capabilities attentively, requesting his group provide protection until tournament undertakings could safely resume once. More formally, learners proposed setting hazardous ambush traps straight away, hoping capture the masked intruder once he inevitably gave back seeking Auger straight. Auger agreed to the straightforward strategy peacefully as associates readied themselves uneasily for the approaching altercation opposing enigmatic attackers collectively. Reina admitted exhausting her mana thoroughly nearby Li Shay, requesting brief rest as yet insisting she could continue helping everybody. Li Shay encouraged Reina, describing Auger and Alice could manage staying obligations as other learners supported their efforts collectively. Auger spotted Reina behaving unusually drained, deciding directly handle significant affairs as Alice and associates readied assisting obligations straight away nearby. Reina peacefully appreciated Auger as she and Li Shay genuinely earlier departing, trusting them thoroughly as depending about their preceded reinforcement amid recovery. Latter, Reina rested solo within luxurious chambers, as she mentioned Auger waiting patiently outdoors for insignificant discussions soon. Reina confronted the hooded figure straight within luxurious chambers, peacefully addressing Shelba as watching his weakened unconscious state attentively. Shelba persisted unconscious underneath peculiar mystical effects as Reina looked wordlessly, confirming the enigmatic organization's hazardous influence circulating quickly. Reina relaxed nearby sleeping Li Shay gladly, appreciating personal companionship as acknowledging recent events surprisingly formed precious private opportunities. Ready continuing her mission solemnly, Reina complaining Alice proved troublesome as attentively touching Li Shay's face amid secret discussions secretly. She lifted sleeping Li Shay softly, deciding transport her towards Floan as maintaining calm assurance concerning coming schemes and obligations ahead. Reina carried sleeping Li Shay attentively as staring peacefully, endeavoring control sophisticated emotions concerning their hazardous secret mission collectively secretly. Auger abruptly confronted Reina straight, insisting explanations concerning Li Shay's disappearance as doubting Reina covertly kidnapped her recently lacking permission. Reina developed visibly shaken hearing Auger's accusations, hesitating uneasily as instinctively reaching towards sleeping Li Shay nearby her attentively. She deserted kidnapping reflections straight away, recognizing harming Auger sentimentally would only increase her own sadness and regret greatly within personally. Then she resolved to investigate questionable doping elixirs rather, listening attentively as Alaban described peculiar substances used by masked individuals recently nearby. Learners discussed questionable doping elixirs attentively, recognizing mystical versions increase bodily prowess unusually as concerning everybody involved greatly within Command Center. Alaban described normal doping elixirs beforehand affected fighters exclusively, rendering mystical enhancement substances seem highly abnormal and hazardous. Auger considered connections concerning masked distributors solemnly, doubting experimental mage elixirs carried secret effects beyond normal mana enhancement capabilities. Abrupt disturbances interrupted discussions straight away, triggering Auger, Alice, and Alaban prepare themselves swiftly following recognizing hazardous enemies advance, Too forcefully, the masked figure assaulted brutally everywhere. Command Center as Alaban charged ahead assuredly, exploiting close battle opposing defenseless mages recklessly nearby. The masked figure assaulted forcefully amid close battle, overpowering Alaban swiftly as triggering weighty damage everywhere. Command Center brutally. Augur looked the brutal attack attentively, growing stunned following witnessing the masked enemy defeat Alaban employing dominating bodily prowess thoroughly. He activated his enigmatic deletion ability straight opposing the masked figure, attempting to erase hazardous mystical power sources straight away amid battle. The masked enemy responded promptly opposing Augur's ability, moving incredibly fast as preparing devastating firepower via immense mystical formations forcefully. Gigantic flame attack erupted everywhere. Command Center abruptly triggering everybody realized the doping elixir amplified mystical capabilities beyond normal limitations drastically. Augur struggled opposing the gigantic flame attack, frantically, recognizing neither escape nor mystical deletion could thoroughly stop incoming destruction. Alice abruptly intercepted the devastating attack employing Blossom Slash, guarding Augur successfully as cutting via hazardous flames thoroughly. Confronted the masked enemy coldly, Alice questioning whether he genuinely intended murdering Augur amid the brutal Command Center assault recently. She unleashed dominating fury straight away, declaring ruthless penalty as her terrifying bloodlust stunned everybody witnessing altercation closely within Command Center. Alice threatened thoroughly erasing the masked enemy mercilessly, triggering even the enigmatic attacker acknowledge her monstrous hazardous presence wordlessly. Killing intent radiated from Alice as she raised her blade high, her pale hair whipping around her furious expression. Rage burned in her eyes as she screamed her declaration at the enemy standing before her. "I'll purge you here and now." Every word carried the weight of a promise she intended to keep, no matter what it cost her. The cloaked figure moved with terrifying speed, a wooden structure splintering apart under the force of the clash. Shadows swirled around him as he shifted position, evading the opening strike with practiced ease. His movements gave away nothing, betraying neither fear nor hesitation. Alice unleashed her signature technique, spinning through the air in a blur of motion. "Blossom Slash!" she roared, her blade carving through the space where her enemy stood. From beneath his hood, the man's expression remained unshaken. "I have no intention of playing around," he stated flatly, unmoved by the fury directed at him. Augur watched from a distance, his breath catching as dust and debris scattered across the battlefield. He clenched his fists, uncertain whether the strike had landed. "This is Alice going all out," he murmured to himself, hope and dread mixing in his chest. Did she get him? The answer came swiftly, and it wasn't the one anyone wanted. The cloaked man stood tall against the palace backdrop, completely untouched by the attack that should have ended him. Alice stared at her blade in disbelief, sweat dripping down her face. "What is this? There's no resistance at all. I cut him, but—" Her voice trailed off as confusion turned to alarm. A magic circle blazed to life beneath the enemy's feet, ancient symbols glowing across its surface, runes spun and pulsed with power, forming a pattern that promised devastation. Whatever he intended to cast, it was clear this wasn't a simple defensive spell. The spell detonated with earth-shattering force. Debris flew in every direction as the impact tore through the surrounding structure, sending shockwaves rippling outward. The sheer magnitude of the explosion left no doubt about the danger they now faced. Augur barely had time to react before the blast caught Alice off guard, hurling her body through the wreckage. "Ugh. I couldn't evade in time," she groaned, pain etched across her face as she crashed into the rubble. Augur rushed to her side, guilt flooding his expression. "Alice, you—" He lowered his head, blaming himself for not protecting her sooner. "My apologies, I was too slow." Tears mixed with blood streaked down Alice's cheeks as she struggled to stand, her sword driven into the ground for support. Her body trembled from the strain, yet she refused to collapse. Augur's voice cracked with desperation as he called out to her, watching helplessly as she fought to remain upright. "Alice!" Determined to end the fight before it claimed her life, Augur gripped her arm firmly. "We're withdrawing for now," he insisted, his tone leaving no room for argument. "That's enough, you did well." But Alice shook her head, refusing to accept defeat despite her wounds. "No, Augur-sama," she whispered, her resolve unbroken even as her body screamed otherwise. Urgency laced every word as the situation was laid bare. Letting the enemy escape now meant he would return, and next time Augur himself would be the target. Capturing him here, in this moment, wasn't just an option anymore. It had become the only choice that mattered. Alice rose to her feet once more, sword gripped tightly in her hands despite the exhaustion weighing on her body. Her eyes carried an unshakable determination as she turned toward Augur. "I am your sword, Alice," she declared, her voice steady despite everything she'd endured. "I will protect you, even at the cost of my life." With renewed fury, Alice launched herself forward, her battle cry echoing across the ruined courtyard. "Hey hey!" Blade met resistance as she pressed the attack with everything she had left. From the shadows, her opponent studied her with something between admiration and unease. "As I thought," he murmured, watching her relentless assault. "You really are a monster." Steel clashed against steel, sparks flying as neither side gave ground. Alice pushed forward with renewed strength, her earlier injuries seemingly forgotten in the heat of combat. The enemy braced against her onslaught, his cloak billowing violently with each exchanged blow. Smoke suddenly engulfed the battlefield, obscuring everything from view. Augur squinted through the haze, trying to track the enemy's position. But this smoke screen isn't meant for attacking, he realized, suspicion creeping into his thoughts. Did he get away? From within the cloud, a familiar voice scoffed. Another smoke screen? How unoriginal. Then their expressions shifted to shock as something unexpected came into view. That is, huh? As the smoke cleared, the aftermath revealed itself in fragments. A figure lay among the wreckage, barely conscious, blood-staining torn fabric. Whoever had been caught in that final exchange had paid dearly for it, and the truth behind the mask was about to surface. Recognition struck like lightning as familiar faces emerged from the debris. "Contestant Ansem," someone gasped, disbelief written across their features. Another voice cut through the shock entirely. "Shelba." The identity behind the cloaked attacker was no longer a mystery, and the revelation changed everything they thought they knew about this fight. Pieces of the puzzle clicked together as understanding dawned. It all adds up, came the realization, connecting details that had seemed unrelated before. The fire affinity matched perfectly with what they'd witnessed. Attacking the other competitors out of spite after losing his match made sense now. He had been seeking revenge against Lichberg Academy all along. Disgust colored the reaction to this discovery. Sacrificing one's own body for power, trading away everything just to gain an edge, seemed like the height of foolishness to those who valued their humanity. How foolish, came the quiet judgment, to trade away your body for something like that. With the chaos finally settling, the organizers stepped in to handle what remained of the aftermath. "We, the organizers, will take care of the rest," they assured the group, offering their thanks for the assistance rendered. Questions lingered about how their opponent had grown so powerful, whether some doping elixir had been involved, and whether the person they'd fought was truly Shelba at all. Setting aside the unanswered mysteries for now, Augur turned to Alice, exhaustion evident in both their postures. Alice studied Augur's wounds with quiet concern, questioning why he seemed so troubled despite his usual composure. He confessed his regret, admitting that if his technique had been more refined, she wouldn't have been hurt so badly during the fight. Alice brushed off his worry, insisting that any price was worth paying for his sake. She suggested they find Reyna, since Karen remained aboard the ship and could help facilitate the healing. Augur managed a tired laugh, remarking that even in this state, all he could think about was training and perfecting his abilities. He noted that based on what he'd observed, his technique was nearly complete. Their conversation was interrupted as Augur suddenly coughed, commenting on how distinctive the local tea's aroma was as they made their way through the ruins. Something about that scent caught Augur off guard, sparks of realization flashing across his expression. His body tensed, and a strange awareness crept over him as the fragrance lingered in the air around them. The aroma intensified, filling the space with an unmistakable presence that seemed to freeze everyone caught in its wake. Whatever this scent signified, it carried weight far beyond a simple cup of tea. He struggled to accept what his senses were telling him, denial and dread mixing together as he clutched Alice closer, bracing against whatever revelation had just struck him. The following day brought closure to the tournament, with ships preparing to carry foreign participants home and safe travels wished upon them all. An official announcement went out to every competitor, informing them that due to recent events, this year's Academy Magic Tournament had been cancelled entirely. Augur stood alone by the window, watching the ships drift across the horizon as birds cut through the sky above. His posture remained still, weighed down by thoughts he hadn't yet voiced aloud. In a dimly lit room, hands pressed together in contemplation over a sealed letter. The situation had grown far more serious than initially anticipated, and if certain suspicions proved correct, this was no longer something that could be handled through ordinary means. A trained bird perched on a windowsill, delivering a carefully addressed envelope meant for Ouga Vellet. The sender acknowledged that it was time to act on their end as well, setting events into motion that would soon ripple outward. The bird soared through the sky, a magic circle glowing faintly beneath it as it carried its message toward its destination, cutting across the clouds with purpose. Within a grand coliseum, a figure emerged from the shadows, confirming what had long been suspected. The realization settled heavily, recognition dawning as the truth behind recent events came into focus. The empty seats surrounding the coliseum floor emphasized just how isolated this confrontation had become. Cloaked in black, the mysterious figure stood before the towering coliseum architecture, features obscured beneath a hood as a faint smile played across otherwise unreadable expression. Every detail about this person radiated calculated menace, hinting at plans set carefully into motion. Slowly lowering the hood, the figure's identity was finally revealed, Twisted amusement crossed her face as she spoke her own name aloud with unsettling pride, Reina. The moment marked the beginning of a new confrontation, one that promised to upend everything that had come before. Aboard the Levitsenka family's magic ship, a wide yawn escaped one of the girls, drawing laughter from her companion who teased her about how enormous it looked. She admitted she had been feeling drowsy ever since the previous day, stretching her arms out as the sea breeze carried her exhaustion away. Watching the horizon from the deck, Reina wondered aloud whether Augur and the president would be arriving soon, her gaze fixed on the distant sails cutting through the water. Anticipation colored her expression as she waited for their return. Standing before the Colosseum's ancient stone arches, Augur revealed that he had figured out the truth behind the attack, identifying fire attribute magic as the key clue. The cloaked woman before him expressed genuine surprise that he had pieced it together so quickly. He pressed further, explaining that what she had used was an attribute-changing potion, a doping elixir crafted specifically for mages, information he had gathered from Alban. Curious about how he'd connected the dots, she asked what led him to such a conclusion, since the elixir alone shouldn't have been enough evidence. Augur confirmed her suspicion was correct, hinting that something else had given her away entirely. Surprise flickered across her face as he explained further, admitting that the answer had been on her hands the whole time, the scent of tea lingering there. She teased him mercilessly for this revelation, calling him a pervert for identifying women through smell, though amusement laced her accusation rather than genuine offense. Shifting the conversation toward darker territory, she confessed that Professor Floan had assigned her 2 separate missions. Augur's expression hardened as he realized he had seen through that layer as well, questioning whether Mashiro had been her intended target all along. With a playful flash of her fingers, she confirmed everything, explaining that her second task involved eliminating Augur himself, since he carried the dangerous ability known as Delete. Beyond that, she had also been ordered to bring Leech back as Professor Floan's next vessel. Augur acknowledged that things seemed to be progressing thanks to her cooperation, though his tone carried clear distaste for the situation. She agreed it truly was beyond ordinary bad taste, describing how Leisha had been selected as the vessel meant to house Floan's soul once her original body finally reached the end of its lifespan. Reflecting on her own circumstances, she admitted she had never shown Augur the full truth about herself, her expression growing distant. She explained that initially, she hadn't met the professor's requirements to become that vessel, hinting at modifications that had changed her fate. Pulling back her sleeve to reveal what lay beneath, she called it her secret, watching Augur's reaction carefully as mechanical components became visible beneath her skin. Silence stretched between them as the weight of her confession settled in. Turning to face him directly, she asked whether he could still consider her an ally after witnessing something so unsettling, gesturing toward the intricate machinery embedded in her arm. She called it ugly, bracing herself for rejection while trying to mask her vulnerability behind practiced composure. Examining the device more closely, Augur struggled to comprehend what he was seeing, comparing it to someone playing with a doll's insides. Countless components had been forcibly embedded into her body, identified as a magic power amplification system designed for body enhancement. The sheer invasiveness of the procedure left him momentarily speechless. Despite everything he had just witnessed, Augur made his decision without hesitation, declaring that he would say it regardless of what she expected to hear. In the next moment he pulled her into an embrace outside the grand building, catching her completely off guard. He asked her to come with him properly this time, his voice carrying quiet sincerity. Reina's eyes widened at the invitation, and after a moment of stunned silence, she expressed how glad she felt, her guarded expression finally softening. She confessed that she never expected him to accept her after seeing something so difficult to look at. Walking beside him, she described the happiness she felt whenever they were together, how he constantly surprised her, made her smile, and brought genuine joy into moments she never thought she'd experience again. Tears streamed down her face even as she smiled, her voice breaking as she explained that this very happiness was precisely why everything hurt so much. The contradiction between her joy and her pain became visible in every trembling feature of her expression. Augur noticed her tears immediately, acknowledging quietly that it must hurt. She paused, studying him carefully before asking if he understood why she felt this way, her question hanging heavy in the air between them. He answered honestly, admitting that deep down, something within him already recognized the truth she was circling around, though he left the full explanation unspoken for the moment. Reina's expression shifted, confusion and hurt crossing her features as she processed an unspoken revelation. She questioned whether he wanted to remain with them instead of following Floan's orders, her voice trembling with the implications of what that choice would mean. Suddenly finding herself pulled or pushed into motion, she cried out in alarm, telling whoever had caused this to stop immediately. The abrupt shift in tone signaled that their quiet moment together was about to be interrupted by something far more chaotic. Reina insisted he no longer had to obey Professor Floan's commands, warning him desperately that he didn't understand the consequences of defying her. Augur's expression hardened with resolve as he made his declaration clear. "I'll defeat Floan," he stated, refusing to let fear dictate his choices any longer. Reina's voice rose into a frantic plea, the word tearing from her throat again and again as tears streamed down her face. "Stop, stop," she cried, desperation overwhelming her composure completely. Augur pressed forward despite her protests, meeting her tear-filled eyes with unwavering determination. "Believe in me, Reina," he urged, hoping his conviction could reach through the fear controlling her. Her body trembled as conflicting emotions tore through her, another broken plea escaping her lips. "Please don't give me any more hope," she begged, unable to bear the possibility of losing him after finally allowing herself to care. Lightning crackled violently around her as her control began to slip, magic surging uncontrollably from her fractured emotions. "Augur-kun, please die, don't say another word," she screamed, caught between her feelings for him and the orders binding her to obedience. Augur closed his eyes, accepting what needed to happen next despite the pain it caused him. "Fine, I understand," he murmured, his voice heavy with resignation as he whispered her name one final time. "Reina." Steeling himself for the confrontation ahead, he called out to her with fierce intensity, tears mixing with resolve on both their faces. "Come at me, Reina." His challenge rang out, accepting the battle neither of them truly wanted. She unleashed her thunder magic without hesitation, lightning tearing through the air as Augur moved to counter her assault. Neither held back as their clash began in earnest, magic and physical force colliding violently. The exchange grew more chaotic, limbs and magic intertwining as both fighters pushed themselves to their limits. Neither wanted this confrontation, yet both understood there was no turning back now. Reina surged forward with explosive speed, her attack tearing through the space between them with devastating force, the battle escalating toward its inevitable conclusion.